Hello and welcome everyone to day 4. I had to think about it for a moment. Day 4 of the Blue Talks Amplifier message event. We are co-hosting today. We like royal we, the me and all of you, I guess, are co-hosting with Sandra Bellamy today, who is the asexual entrepreneur. We've had a lot of patterns this week about self-awareness, self-compassion, forgiveness. Creativity came up a lot. Yay! Our first guest is here. And so I would love to kind of bring that into some of our questions. But just so our listeners know, can you tell us just a little bit about you so we know a context behind where your questions come from?
Oh, do you want me to speak before
Yeah,
the guest?
just like a couple sentences. Yeah, tell
So,
us about
hi,
you.
I'm Sandra. Sandra Bellamy, otherwise known as the asexual entrepreneur, asexualized and ace fiber girl, and I talk about asexuality and I do a YouTube show. So that's what I'm mostly known as. Talking about love, life, confidence, dating, relationships, and how to tackle life when you lack sexual attraction, because asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction. And so it can be really difficult to navigate the world, which is highly sexualized, when you don't have those feelings and the same thoughts or the urges to have sex. And that can have an impact on work. If you work for a company, it can have an impact on your relationships with your friends and interactions in society. And also, if you're on the dating scene, lots of people want to hook up. And if you don't want to hook up, you're like, how do I find someone who doesn't want to do that? And I'm into personal and professional development. So I got into entrepreneurship in 2012.
Yes.
And it was Tony Robbins who changed my life back then when I saw him on stage at a Success Resources event. And he said to change your state through movement and music. And I couldn't hug anyone back then. I was really quite touch averse. And then he got us to go in the audience and hug these different people. And I hugged this massive guy. He was huge in body mass. He had this bald head with a piece of flyaway hair. He wasn't particularly attractive, but I hugged him and I thought, if I can hug him, I can hug anyone. And I found out I had lots of skills and experience and things I could help others with that I didn't realize I had until I went to that seminar, because I had depression prior years, but that was the same year I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and it saved my life from depression, actually. And then when I went to Tony Robbins' event, that's when I began my self-love journey, became self-aware of all the qualities and experiences I do have. And then I bring all that voice, if you like, and self-love to the asexual community, teaching them how to have a voice as their beautiful, authentic, asexual self, and how to be comfortable with all the experience and qualities they have as their beautiful, unique gifts, as the difference with 1% of the population. So
awesome.
Which is so it's good. So
our first guest, Ilona, she's one of those people who help you with your content creation, and we know her as the Instagram real lady. So it is about getting your voice out there and just finding what you love. So Ilona, just give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come up. Awesome. Welcome to the stage, Ilona. You are on mute, just so you know. I have a favorite question that I start with, because we get to learn a little bit about you and what you value and your branding. And as a reminder, branding is how people talk about you when you're not around. That's just the short gist of it. So here's a question. If there were 3 words that you would love other people to use to describe you, what might those 3 words be?
Oh, wow. I love this question. And to be clear, we are not agree on this. So my answer will be right away.
It changes every day. It's all good.
So first of all, for sure, it will be support, because I'm the person that religiously follow this rule in my life, because I learned it so hard way. That is why support is one of the main ingredient of everything that I do in my life, whether it's business or, of course, personal relationships, because I do believe that we have so many interactions throughout the day, year, and our lifetime. And so few people can come up to us and say, hey, you do great, not pointing on our mistakes, but really cheer us up. And you do feel that I'm right. Unfortunately for me, I'm right, because you can remember that person or few people that you know. So I want to be this few one. So for sure, support and strategy. I'm very nerdy person, entrepreneur. Laura, here I am. Very systematic thinking, logical, boring in all possible aspects of my life. I mean, married, to kids. I mean, not loving, reading, all this old-fashioned stuff. It's so me. So that is why strategy is something that I love, and I do believe that if you have strategy in your life, you have goal, you have dream, you have anything you think of, you can achieve so many things, more than 95% on people on earth, if you have this strategy. And of course, the final word will be, let me see, family, because I moved to America 4 years ago, and my main goal was, my driving force was my kids, because I do believe that as parent you should educate your people through your own example. I could say to her or to him anything and everything I can think of. But if I will not follow these steps as I say,
Yeah.
it means nothing for them. It means I'm robbing them from their bright future. So it should be me who show that it's possible. That is why for me it was very crucial that I moved to America. I know that this is already a successful story for so many immigrants and parents, parents. But I wanted something more. It's not the only thing I will do for my kids. I want something more. I want to show my with my own example that they can do this. They can be successful. They can be anything and everything in all possible ways. And no matter what they miss, the most important, what they do have already. And they have so much in their heads. I do believe in this.
I love that. So what is it that you do in your words, the way that you like to describe yourself?
Of course. I'm a content marketing coach. Simply, I'm that person who helps you to build a system of content that works for you instead of you, and you live your life. I mean, I'm the person for automatization, for funnel creation in the very fun, organic way. I do not do ads, because I do believe if you cannot attract people through your message only, there is no point to throw a lot of money. Just invest them in yourself, and then if you want it and you have enough budget, of course ads is so helpful too. But first of all, make sure that you send your message to your audience, and you can convert your followers into customers only with your content. And I do not even focus. Of course, my focus first of it's reels, posts, carousels, but content in very broad sense, because content from your real person come up to your page, and then to your link in your bio, and then they see website. It's all about the content there. It should be one cycle. It should be all in one. That is why I'm working all in one, and mainly with solopreneurs, because I do believe that with your two hands, one head, and phone, you can achieve everything in your business. So
I
yeah.
love that. I've heard a lot of people shy away from doing reels because for some reason they think that reels are just dancing things, and
Yeah.
pointing to all of the words. What kind of advice or what would you say to somebody who thinks that content creation, like reels,
Mhm.
is so narrowly focused?
I know, because so many people struggle with reels,
Yeah.
specifically because you need to show up there. I mean, carousel, it's kind of you dealing with Canva or any other tool to make it happen, but this is you. And it's you're right. It was like this 2 years ago. You should dance and you should point on different fun things. But nowadays you can upload your video like we talking now. You can film yourself and put some the key, valuable information for your audience. Something that they want to find out, decide for themselves. So treat your content as the bridge, as the two-way road. It's not about, oh, it's me dancing, or it's me delivering some information, oh, it's my program, or this is about my course. But what is there for them?
Yeah.
Why do they care about it? Because for sure you have value, but you need to, let's say, pack it in another way, and it's all good. It's just a matter of specific skill set that normally with my client we work on, but it's not that hard as you think. And really, you do not need to dance. But if you want to dance, I will not stop you by all means, because I'm the person who can show up in her reels with the wig, dance, very goofy way, because it's the part of my personality. I did say that I'm a nerdy person, but this is this is kind of side effect of nerdy personality. I'm very goofy, so it's not about trends. It's all about you, how you feel comfortable. Maybe you love to talk with camera. You love to deliver information with your own voice. You stand up and show up and say some valuable things for your audience, pour from your heart. It's all good. I mean, it's only up to you how you feel it, how you see it.
Ooh, we've had conversations with people this week where they love sharing content, and many of them are introverts. I do have to say, I love my introverts. I'm an extrovert, completely different. But they do tend to have uncomfortable feelings and issues getting on a camera. But then you just gave me an idea based on all the little tidbits that you gave us. What if they just showed up on camera, and if they like to dance, or if they like to dress up,
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
have a separate voice recording, I'm going to use my mouse, that they can just apply over top. Then they don't have
Voiceover.
to feel like they're in front of that camera. I love that, Ilona, because now we're
Yeah.
bringing up what we've mentioned many times before. Use what you have as Ilona, as Sandra, as Laura, as any of our listeners. Not what I do, not what Ilona does, not what Sandra does. Do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then what are your favorite ways to show up in a reel or to show up through your content?
My favorite way, I can more address the concern that you outlined here.
Yeah.
I mean, about mm, how you should come up in your reels if you're introvert, if you struggle with the showing up, it's not comfortable for you. I always advise you to make it happen through several steps.
Ooh.
Let's say first you will not show up in front of the camera, so you film anything you want, a breathtaking view, your vacation shots, anything beautiful you consider yourself as beautiful thing, and you put, oh, I'm sorry, uh, I do not see, my computer did something very crazy way. Okay, no, I do not want anything happen here. Okay, sorry. So first, as I disappeared now, so you do not show anything yourself. I mean yourself. You just show breathtaking views and deliver value. Something I always suggest you to use for these shots. Use something inspirational, something to cheer up your audience, to support. For example, Sandra could send the message for the asexual person that it's all good. It's I know that feelings that you are of rejection from the modern society. I do feel this, and you can cheer her or him up or them up. And second step, you show up in front of the camera, but not direct way. So you put your camera like we talk now, and you put your camera somewhere close to you that the camera face to yourself. So you film yourself doing your whatever you're doing, working, your routine, anything and everything you want to show your audience. And I do believe the people really curious about your routine. And so many experts and entrepreneurs will say to me, but it's not, I mean, what's the point? It's not interesting. And I can argue with you with very scientific way that it's do interesting. People do love to see how you wake up, what do you want to eat for the breakfast, do you like coffee or maybe tea, what tea exactly. So everything you can film and again deliver value. What's the best way here? It's something educational, something maybe helpful tips to cut the way. I mean, some helpful tips more to make happen things more effectively in your niche. For example, for you, Laura, you can use some tips how the person can ground herself or himself, themselves, to be in the state of calmness, to make a decision from this point of at this point. So do not rush things around, and because you know that how to deal with stress and how to because it's so important. I know you feel that is why there's so specific advice here. How to hear your voice, really your inner voice, and how to really put the steps to make it happen, your voice in the reality. So something educational, something very helpful for them right now. And it should be something small. In your case, for example, it should not be you can do this because you need to follow these steps, these steps. It's too complicated. Something for to feel comfortable and calm at the meeting when you're stressed out. People start to shout at you, nervous, how you can like, okay, this is me, this is my voice, this is I want to deliver, how to make it happen, because so many people struggle with this. Something very practical, because you should remember that it's real. It's 7 seconds, okay, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I mean, it's not much time to deliver everything. So make it happen short way. And the third step, and you feel comfortable in front of the camera, let's say, you really show up in front of the camera. Actually, you come up with your face, with your voice, and you start to deliver information. Some kind of intermediate state, you can use voiceover, as you said, that it helps you to get used to the sound of your voice, because sometimes it's
Yep.
you love, but sometimes it's struggle. It's real struggle that you hear it. So, oh my gosh, it's me talking. Like, oh, I can stand it. But with time, you get used to yourself. You start to accept yourself, and you hear this cheering up from your followers, from your friends. Don't be shy to share this reel with your beloved. They can cheer you up. You need this boost of support, of encouragement on these early stages. You need it. So don't hesitate to ask for it. It helps you to move forward easily. You're not alone. You're never alone. So many people struggle with the same thing. So you need to just find them and be around these people so you can help each other. So the final step, the perfect step, let's say, on this real thing, that you show up in front of the camera and start to talk. Deliver with your own voice, with your own outfits, with your own facey expressions, because people connected through these tiny, small things to yourself, to how you, what words exactly you use, how you express yourself. Are you emotional? Are you more closed? And don't be afraid to be yourself from early beginning, because in this case you will attract only those people who really likes you. It's very, very effective strategy. If you start to act as you think people will like you, oh, you will deal with so many bad things in your business, because I always said it's better to deal with angry follower than deal with angry customer, because when people are attracted to you, and they like how you normally act. And then suddenly during your coaching session or course or program or any product you can imagine, you start acting as yourself because you cannot help yourself. This is your work. This is how you naturally act. And they like, whoa, what is going on here? I mean, it's not that I expected. And they are right in their own way because you showed another picture of you. So better to be as you are, and you attract only those people who really likes you. And it's much more clever and effective way to build a business. Believe me.
I've had so many conversations about people who were like, what is expected of me? And I'm like, let's stop the sentence right there. You're an entrepreneur. So there really is no expectation other than to help somebody to be somebody that they want to be, whatever that looks like for you. So then how would you love yourself to show up? Because most of us are what I call mess to message solopreneurs. We've been there. We felt the struggle. It kind of sucks. And now we don't want other people to feel the crap that we felt. So then I think of the old version of me and I'm like, what did she need to hear right now? What did she need to feel right now? How does she need to be seen, heard, and understood? And then that is the one person I'm talking to. If other people relate to that, great. Because it's all authentic. It's all me. It's all my journey and my experience. Then when people come in, you get to learn more about yourself by how they reflect and relate to that version of you. And you're like, that's magical.
Absolutely. Entrepreneurship, it's like, it's the best healing process that I've been through. I mean, it's hard. It's like
death by fire.
It's like a learning hard way, but it's really my way to know about myself, to be better with every single piece of my content. I know so much more about myself and how I can help others. It means a lot for me. So if I can give one advice to Ilona 5 years ago, I would say, go for it. Like, you do not know anything. You do not how to shop in the front of the camera. You're not marketer. You're just a lawyer, philologist, mom. I mean, it's all good. You have everything you need. You can do this. Show up. You have so much to offer. So if you now hear it in your early beginning of your journey, business journey, you need to be there because your message is so valuable. Especially, I outline it with the 3 lines, especially in the era of artificial intelligence. Your message is the ROE, the return of investment of your message, increased nowadays drastically right away. Be thankful for this AI technology because your message becomes more and more valuable with every single year. So be there.
When you say that, is that because artificial intelligence is artificial, whereas we're real? And if we be real and authentic, we shine through above that. Is that what you mean?
Yes, absolutely. Because nowadays you can use artificial intelligence to write a carousel, to make a scenario for your reel, but it's very generic. It's very basic. It's like Wikipedia style, Google style. I mean, it's more harmful for your brand than it's valuable. You can use it as a tool. I always suggest my clients use it as a tool. If you feel lack of ideas, you feel uninspired, you want something to come up with, and you do not feel like creating from scratch, use it as a tool, but add yourself, your personality, because in some cases artificial intelligence can suggest you some 3 tips to do something, for example, in lowercase, how to pronounce yourself, and you like reading this is, I mean, it's not true. It's like it's working, but in my experience, this is not working because you need to do meditation in this way. And meditation, it's not only sitting and listening to the music. It's you can
No.
walk and I mean, you have tons of idea and you can make it happen like this. Recently, IE give me these 3 tools to ground yourself. Don't ever follow these 3 rules because, and you share from your experience. This is idea for your real, and you be so noticeable for your audience because you stand out from the crowd and you say, no way, this is not working because I'm in this field for this number of years, this number of clients, and this is not working because you should do it, this meditation, let's say, thing in this way.
Yeah.
And it's so memorable, it's so trustworthy, it's so credible, and you gain this authority step by step. And finally, when you come up, Laura, with idea, let's say you want to sell pack of your meditations, and you, as soon as you said this is that you need, because it's goes from my experience of my clients, they will not hesitate because they know already that you're an expert in this. Thanks to your content, you, if you strategically put it in this order, so they are ready for this offer, and they say, oh yeah, I know, she's an expert in this. I did this tip from her recent reel, and it helps me a lot. What's the price? Where's the link? This is how it works. I mean, it's magic, but it's not real magic, it's you.
So with your you talked about funnels and you send people to your website. So what is your process, if you don't mind sharing, from an Instagram reel, say you've given some value, where do you send them somewhere else? Do you send them directly to your website? Do you give them a freebie, or do you tell them to book a call with you? How does that usually work for you? What works best?
Excellent question, Sandra. Excellent. Because unfortunately for our listeners, I cannot answer you with one way answer that you should do. I don't know, freebie, and then from freebie they find out about your mid price offer, then high price offer. It doesn't work like this. We always start with your goal. What do you want to sell at this point? If we talk about fun, what do you really want to sell? Because I do believe in product line. You should have something small, something middle, something high, but what you really focus on, what you really want to sell. I mean, this is your passion. This is you want. Course is your passion, and you really love interact with big amounts of people, clients, but not directly. Or you love to work one-on-one. This is your passion. We want to be sure that you sell what you really want to sell, and we go from there. And we can, if it's one-on-one coaching, you cannot sell it right away. This is my $3,000 offer, you can buy it. I mean, even for the car, you have a trial period to try it out, to drive a bit. I mean, this is the same thing. You should offer something to try your services. That is why, if it's one-on-one coaching, so discover call will be very logical to offer them just to try you and themselves with during your interaction. Are you comfortable with each other? Do you really can help this person? So it's very, so we go from here. So we go from your goal to your content. And then we think about, okay, if it's discovery call, how I can attract people to this discovery call, what problems I can help them to decide, to unpack, or to know about, to help them during this way. Because sometimes people think that my problem is in this thing, but you as an expert say, oh no, you think that your problem is here. No way, because I know that's your problem. Actually, it's right here. And if you want to talk about this, this is the link that we can chat about this, and I can help you with this problem, how to solve it, how to analyze it, how to see it, what steps you can make to make it happen in your life, because you can outline, for example, 3 steps, and you can suggest, I can help you with this, but you can do it by yourself. I mean, it's there is no obligation strict that you should decide this problem with me only. This gives your client kind of space and room to breathe, to say to you yes or no, because we do not want to force people to buy from you. Absolutely. Especially if it's one-on-one problem. I mean, it should be very voluntary thing from their side. So you start to construct your content in a way you bring awareness to this problem. You help them to solve it in the very minor way. So the main decision is in your program for sure, and you can cheer them up. You can help them up during the way, because you know that they are inside this problem, as it's very uncomfortable at least.
Yeah.
So through this content, they really understand that you are the person to go to for decide this problem, and they do not lose anything. It's just a free discovery call. They should not pay you X amount of money to meet with you. And plus, of course, you should always nail down your bio if we talk about social media from your content, because the magic happens in your bio. The most money you lose is in your bio, because normal consumer behavior acts like this. They go from your reel, they say, okay, it's I didn't think about this. Oh, it's something new. I want to know more. And they click on your account, and they see your picture first. Our brain absorbs picture the first. They say, okay, I like it. So be sure that in your picture you looking as trustworthy, as professional as you can. And then they go to your bio. Who are you exactly? Is it matched with my piece of content? Because sometimes there is a problem can be there. So it's all good. This is really a person that I'm searching for. They really help with this type of problem, and I do like how they help me. This is everything in your bio. So they click on to the link in your bio. So they find everything cohesive with what they see before, real bio. Okay, now I'm in her website. I want to book this discovery call. And this discovery call really explains everything from your reel. They do not have any questions, any conflict in between, because if they have slight question or hesitation, they will go away, because nowadays we can find and help in so many ways. I mean, there is no lack of professionals on the market, so they will go away. So they see that everything is in place and it's free. I mean, I really want to solve this problem, and I'm sure that this person kind of have this impression that this person could help me. So let's book a call and we will go from there. And during your call, you can really focus on helping, not selling your one-on-one coaching, but helping this person. Give her, him, them these tips, steps, strategy that they can follow to achieve what they want to achieve. And you can come up with your one-on-one program and say, yes, we do these steps together, or you can do it by yourself. But please be aware, you need this amount of time, this amount of money, or this amount of anything and everything they need to achieve by yourself or with help of others. For me, I can guarantee this result with this investment. If you want invest this time and money with someone else or by yourself, yes, you can do this. And at this point, it's up to him, her, or them to decide, to measure the value that you provide and the numbers that you want from them.
That's really, really good.
Yeah. What got you into this work of content creation? Why not just do something else?
Because I do love connect with people, because this is very nice question and important question for me, because it's, for so many years I was a lawyer, corporate lawyer, 10 years of practice. I mean, marketing, it's not my first priority. And then philologist, I have a degree in teaching Russian language and literature. This is my passion. And I wrote my first book. It becomes a bestseller. And I found myself in because I make it happen with my own hands. I make it happen that it becomes a bestseller with my own hands, because I wanted so much to be heard. This book is, I was convinced that it's so good. It's really good. It's so helpful. They must read it. I mean, there is no way for me. I cannot do this. I will dig in earth, but I will make it happen. And along the way, along through all of these mistakes and everything that I expressed you before, it's from my experience, because I make so many mistakes on all these stages that I express nice you now. So I learned it hard way, but and then I realized that I want this type of connection with my reader, but only daily basis, because I wrote the book only with one purpose: to connect, to help. And what a minute. Social media, I can do this on a daily basis. I can connect with people, I can help them. And I found myself that I want to help women, I want to support women in their business journey, because for me it's very important that when I help other women, I do feel that I'm some kind of connected to the all good things that happen in the world through them. So we together, we can make this world much better place in the very practical, very specific way that they suggest. And it's so helpful, so powerful to my mind. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing on a daily basis. I enjoy this connection. I enjoy this conversation. I enjoy the moment that you are inspired, you show up, and you have all these beautiful things that come into your life, with whether it's likes, followers, money, support, anything and everything that you consider as benefit from all this social media thing.
Well,
So please joy.
yeah, I'm fascinated. You give so much good value to our audience here today. I wanted to know, because you said about a book, what would you say for authors that are listening right now? What's the strategy you give them specifically when they're trying to sell their book on Amazon, for example, but through Instagram reels and stuff? Is there a specific strategy you use for selling a product like that as opposed to coaching?
Yes, of course, there is specific strategy, because book is the product. So we go because actually now all this time we talked about business owner and product oriented social media content strategy, but we also have an influencer strategy. If your goal is to book an ads, brand deals, you really want to go to this path, it's everything that I said to you now. You should correct me in so many ways. So in book thing, we have like two sides. We have physical product. It's the strategy for physical product, and at the same time, it's the strategy as for the digital product at the same time. This is the trick that we have here. But we also should know what the type of your book. It's fiction, it's non-fiction, because there are two different strategies. If it's fiction, it's one strategy. It's non-fiction, let's say business book, some how to book, helpful book, it's completely another strategy. But the main thing that you should focus on is to introduce yourself to your audience as an author in the first place, because so many people for so many years, I do believe that they think about you in very specific way. It's you are mom, business owner, lawyer, designer, whatever. But now they should start to see you as an author, how to show themselves that you are the author. So you show yourself in the process of your book. You show yourself how you plan your book, why you write your book, why you believe that it will be helpful for your audience. What is the mission behind this book? Uh, how you understand and sometimes allow yourself to write a book. Where you get this bravery, courage.
Yeah.
It's very important for others, because so many people want to become an author, but they hold themselves for so many reasons. Tell them why you're doing this, why you're so brave in this. Are you crazy? Are you what you have
Maybe.
some maybe it's the case. I'm just crazy. In my case, I was just crazy. I just moved to America and I wanted to write a book, like my first book. Why not? People say to me, "You are crazy, Ilona." I said,
Good.
"Yes, I am." Like,
Yep. But your mind kind of crazy, so it's all good.
yeah, I mean, okay, I am, but I do want to make it happen, because I do believe in this book, and I do know that so many women will benefit from this. So you should also establish yourself as an author. And please, 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 please make it happen. Not 1 weeks or a month before launching your book. Make it happen 6, 8 months before your
wow.
book will be released. That is why piece of content, when you really write your book, you pour your emotions there. Maybe you cry, you feel uncomfortable writing some things, because I do know that it's not easy way to be an author at all. So when you share this journey, by the end of this journey, when you answer all these questions that expressed here, they already convinced that you are the author of this book and what it's all about. And you start to closer to your launch, you start to give more details about the book. But first of all, they should see you as an author. This is the main mistake. It's not about the book. It's about you being an author of this book. They should trust you in the first place, and then they can they can take this book, buy this book, and read it, and take this all valuable information that you provide for them. It's the second step. Explain what it's all about, how exactly you can help through this book, to whom it will be helpful, because it's not for everybody. It's for a very specific person. So explain it from the early beginning. You are not pretending to help everyone. You want to help very specific person. So just deliver the message and be very clear that yes, I'm writing the book, but it's not helpful for everyone. If you are this and this, in this problem, in this social status, or whatever you can imagine, I can help you. Really, this is the helpful tool for you. So you're very open and very honest about these things, and that is why it's so trustworthy. And person that maybe, for example, I'm not the type of person that's your book devoted to, but I can send this reel or this carousel or this post, share it with my friend, and said, hey, I know that you are struggling, you are this person, and this is the book you should read. I see this girl talking about this book, about her journey for 6 months already. So she's very, very devoted to this project. You should check it out. It's just $20. I mean, it's not a huge amount of investment. Just try it out. You're suffering so many years already. Just make it happen. Come on. So
how many times have we all been there where we're trying to figure it out, the DIY, and we invest years sometimes into these things when all it could have taken was a 20-minute conversation or, a week with a book. I'm a slow reader, so of course it's going to take me the whole week.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
to
I mean,
get moving.
so sometimes it's not only about selling directly to these people, but they can help. People know people. I mean, you work with a huge amount of audience, vast audience. Don't be so narrow about this. And of course, collaborate. Start to come up with the ideas for the other content creators in your niche, authors, but authors with the same audience you want to help. So you can exchange audiences so they can know about your book, and your audience can find out about their book, or collaborate with your ideal reader that your book devoted to this person, so you can create a live or reel together, and you can virtually give her or him this book, and they read and said, oh my gosh, it's so valuable. Something very fun way or serious way, as you want it to be. I mean, think about collaboration. Think about how to be social on social media, because so many people lose this piece of the ingredient of success on social media. It's not only about content. We talk for so many minutes now about the content, as you create the content, how you can be trustworthy, how you create a fun from your content. But it's not only about good content. It's also about engagement strategy. It's also about how to be social on social media, because the main goal and main aim of social media is to connect people with each other. And it's very beneficial for you to do this, because algorithm will benefit you in their own way, give you more views, give you more, show up your piece of content to more audience. So be social. So collaboration, unbox yourself, show up.
I want to have you back again. Like, I always love chatting with you, Ilona, but how we only have about a minute or so because we are slightly over time. How do we communicate with you? What is your favorite way to connect with people?
Instagram.
Where do we
For
find
sure, you? Instagram. Yeah, because it's the best place. Actually, it's the best place to sell your product. If you're a business owner, really, it's the best place. Plus, we have Threads now. This is connected to Instagram. It's, if you're a more introverted person, will be very, very beneficial for you. It's whole new, brand new social media. It's absolutely connected to your Instagram, and you should be there for sure. If you're not in European Union now, because it's not available for you now nowadays. But if you're in America, if you absolutely can try it out. Threads is something very, very beneficial for your brand right now. So mainly
What's your
Instagram.
handle? What's your handle?
My name, Ilona Seddik, in one line, very plain and simple. Nothing crazy.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much for being here. Always a pleasure. Absolutely adore you. Definitely connect in behind. There was a lady on LinkedIn who was like, Ilona, I would love to discuss how to publish and promote my book. See, Rebecca. So,
oh, wow.
You're getting business already. Reach out to her, have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Just be you. Okay. I'm going to much love, and we will catch you later.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Now, we do have our next guest in the background. Currently, their camera is off. So, Victoria, whenever you get back, just give me a thumbs up to let me know that you're ready. Yay! I'll bring you up the stage. Hi, Victoria. How are you?
Hi, Laura. How are you? It's nice to meet you.
I like your title, The Happy Executive. I have to ask first, before anything else, where did that come from?
Well, all executives are happy, aren't they, Laura? Like all
Oh, that's a
executives.
loaded question.
Yes. No challenges whatsoever.
No.
So, well, that actually came from the way that I perceived being an executive, and directing an organization. That was a goal of mine for such a long time. And when I achieved that goal, then all of a sudden it was like, I thought, why am I not happy? Why am I not happy?
Mhm.
I achieved that goal. So that was a big aha. And of course, it was about, really getting super laser lucid clear on, what are my goals, in my life, because I thought I've always been very goal oriented. However, what I realized was I would just, I was more of like a bucket list person. Okay, I'm going to run the marathon. Okay, now that's done. Now what's the next goal?
Check.
So I wasn't like patting myself on the back enough. And that was taking away from my happiness.
Aw. Have you ever thought about like, why do I want this goal before all of the whole becoming an executive, realizing you're not happy? Did you do that second step, or is that something that's new now?
No, so I did that. Like I would have my why, why do I want to run a marathon? Well,
Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
yeah, I'm not sure why. I'm going to enlarge my screen. Hi, Sandra. Because for some reason my screensaver keeps coming on, and I think that's what's turning my mute on for some reason. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that. All right. So I did have like a why, but it wasn't. I just think that I would take on too much, and uh, and that's what I realized. I would just, take on too much, not really celebrate those successes enough. And that's originally where it came from. I founded the Happy Executive back in 2014. So it was really, a big aha for me. And when I would go and be around other executives, I was in a class up at Northwestern with other executives, and including Deepak Chopra. He was our professor. Yes, it was so awesome. We spent 3 days together with him. The soul of leadership was what he taught us. But, that was the same feeling. Like, people were like, well, yes, the happy executive, because all executives are happy, without, but it is, like you said, Laura, it's super important to get clear on the why, and also be aware of what else, we have going on in our lives. Other challenges, and taking care of loved ones that are elderly, all those things played into it.
It makes me think of a third step that I started introducing in my own life, because I did those things. I had goals and I knew my why, and then I would accomplish them, and I did the same thing. Like, why am I not as happy as I thought that I was?
Right.
But I didn't realize that until after the universe like literally crashes things in my face. So but we don't want to get that far.
That happens.
Now I ask myself, okay, yes, I have a goal. Great. I'm specific. I have my dumb goals. I have my smart goals, my push goals, all of that. Then I know why I have these goals. But now I'm asking myself, what need am I trying to fill by accomplishing this goal, or by practicing the steps to accomplish this goal? Now it's like, oh, I have this whole new level of awareness of my needs and my boundaries. And I'm like, okay, that's a little more clarity than I had before.
Yes. That's absolutely awesome. Thank you. I wrote that down.
Sure.
That is really super, super powerful. And I think it would also definitely, which is, I'm sure why you do it, keep us in alignment because, so we're not like chasing too many things and not accomplishing anything.
Yeah. Well, I've gone through PTSD twice. I've been through depression a few times, anxiety. And so during those mental health spirals, it was very important for me to understand my emotional needs. And I didn't have that understanding beforehand. So when I would reach for goals and I would understand my why, it wouldn't quite connect because I was taking away one need and filling another need. And so that doesn't feel good either.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I'm like,
Wow.
I need to keep filling instead of digging something up. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that. Yes. Yes. I love that.
Like, mental health is my jam. No, this is great.
Yes.
Because like every time we have a conversation with somebody, we get to learn more about ourselves and our own work.
Yes.
And it's just, it does this. It elevates everyone around us. So then I'm going to ask you the question I've been asking everybody because it tells me so much about you in like a very subtle way, but it's a very fun question. So the question is this: if there were 3 words that you would love other people to use to describe you, what might those 3 words be? And I understand they change daily. So like today, right now.
Oh, that's a fun question. So, okay. So I would say focused,
Ooh.
strategic, and happy.
And of course, why would you choose those words today?
Yes. Well, because like I was saying, how the Happy Executive was founded, it has evolved over the years. And what I have found that our clients need is a full strategic plan on how they can be seen and get heard and actually earn more revenue and recognition for their company. Because a lot of our clients are introverts like me. And when I started in corporate America after I graduated from college, my first job was corporate sales with AT&T.
Oh, wow.
So I had to learn sales if I wanted to, keep that job and build a career with them. And, to me, it was, somewhat being kind of narrow-minded, I guess, because what I realized was when I started with the Happy Executive with coaching, and then of course, you build your network around you, your circle of influence and colleagues. And they were asking me how I was getting clients.
Yes.
And and it wasn't just a few, it was multiple ones before like the light bulb went out, off in my head, because I thought, well, I had that sales background and I had always been in sales, whether it be for corporate or for my own business. And then that's when I realized that is a problem they have that they don't want, but they didn't know how to be seen. And they would have, these wonderful products and services like many people have out there, and nobody knows about them.
Yep. Best kept secrets.
Yes.
Everywhere. One of my mentors said to me, he's like, "You're very much a perfectionist." And of course I was like, "No, I'm not." Because when you're in it, you kind of do that. He's like, "You're very much a perfectionist. But think about the person who needs this right now, not the person who needs it next week, next month, next year. They need it now. So are you going to let them feel that pain for next week when you get it done, or next month when you get it done? Or are you going to help them soothe that pain today?" And I went, oh my God, I'm hurting other people. And of course, the compassionate, empathetic version of me was like, I can't do that to anybody. So he's like, get it done and ship it. That's like the only thing that I really learned from this man is just get
Wow.
it done and ship it. But it like rocks me to my core every time I think about that version of me. So same thing for you, Victoria, that version of you that was an executive, the unhappy executive. You still think about that when you work with your clients, don't you?
Yeah, of course I do.
Of course we do.
Mhm.
That's just part of our story, part of our journey. So then this discovery of happiness is understanding, well, what is the opposite side of that pain? What does that
Mhm.
actually look like for people?
Mhm.
How can I articulate that and celebrate with them, since you brought that up,
Mhm.
every step of the way?
Mhm.
So I want to know, like, since you do work with your clients and it is so personal for you, how do you help them celebrate when you didn't celebrate before?
Well, sometimes it takes me spotlighting. You know what I'm saying? Spotlighting and helping them realize what they've really accomplished. So one of my clients is a chief security officer. So works with information technology, cybersecurity.
Yep.
And when we first started working together, he was not celebrating his successes, and he was a very accomplished professional. And so what it took for him was us, getting laser lucid clear on what he accomplished up until that time, so that we could celebrate, because he was actually feeling a little bit down. He was in a, transition period. And what we realized was he had already spoken to 12,000 individuals with
Oh,
his
wow.
speaking career, which is huge,
Yeah.
and but because he wasn't used to celebrating his successes, he never tallied that up. And I feel that in, when we're doing life, and of course, he had a very busy career. He also had five children that they raised, so it was, busy at work, busy at home, and he never really took the time to see his accomplishments. And we also, made a list of all his awards that he's, gotten over the years. So that of course helps people, get focused and then propel themselves forward, because then they can think about, well, I've spoken to 12,000 people. It also helps if there's any kind of, the introvert comes out again, so you're like, I can do this, I've already spoken to 12,000. What's another 2,000, so it's little things like that that I felt has helped my clients. But some clients, when I give examples, then they're very good at then, oh, well, kind of like, well, she gave me permission, to talk about this,
Yeah.
because, I grew up in a very small town in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And, I grew up in a time, I was the only child, so no brothers and sisters. And, still I would hear a lot like, children should be seen, not heard, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Is when I grew up. I don't know if anybody can relate to that.
Mhm.
And, like, oh, well, are we supposed to talk about what we achieved and the medals that we won? Or, I don't want to brag. I don't want to make, I don't want to feel like people are, like, oh, she needs to be quiet, So it was a lot of that too. And that plays into a lot of people's lives. I found that too with a lot of our clients, where, a limiting belief or how they were raised, they really had to work through that, so so they could continue to move forward, because again, they won't be seen or heard if they are not out there.
Yeah. That reminds me of the crab in the bucket analogy. So for those who don't know, like if there's a bucket of crabs, the other crabs will pull down any crab trying to escape. And it's that same kind of feeling where if you excel in anything, or you try to celebrate yourself, where you're excelling and you're being great and you're amazing and you have these awards, the people around you could be trying to tear you down.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my favorite sales analogies too. So you can speak to this, and I would love to hear your comments on it. Sales, the understanding of general sales, not wonderfully trained sales, was that there's this use of persuasion and this use of shame and guilt in order to get people to buy. I know we've come a long way from there, but I want to highlight what you're doing on the other side of this, which is the piece that I love. Instead of the motivation being the shame or guilt, since I love emotions, you are on the side of empowerment. It's like, what is inspiring them to keep going despite making mistakes along the way? So I want to just make sure that people know that that's the side that you're on, even though you're talking about sales, even though you come from the corporate world. And I love that you're there. Do you have any comment on that?
Oh, yes, that is such a good thought. And it really is a lot of people's that statement that you made is what a lot of people believe still, even though, like you said, we have come a long way, but not everybody has come along with us. And what I find is that those people, some people have a lot of hesitation because of the fact that they don't want to be seen like a pushy person. Like you said, like the shame and guilt, or, putting a deadline on someone.
A false deadline too.
Yes. And a false deadline. And then the issue becomes, and that's a good point, Laura, because the issue becomes that if they put, we use deadlines with a lot of our clients, so that they can have a framework if they're launching, if there's, a company that is looking to do business with them, we have deadlines, but, you can't move those around because obviously then you will not have the credibility.
Yes.
But some of those same people that, haven't had a background in sales or hesitate with that, they really struggle with putting a deadline, and then they start feeling guilty, when in reality, if you're looking to do business, like I have a client that is, in the final stages of a deal with a wholesaler, and they were very hesitant to put a deadline on it, but they had been talking to the wholesaler for 3 months. The wholesaler had all the information that they needed. They had confirmed that. But it was just kind of out there lingering. And I think it's probably something that a lot of us can relate to, because like you were talking about your mentor and how your mentor taught you, like, what about those people, those clients that need it today? They're suffering, not next week, not tomorrow. Some of these same people just, they can't make a decision unless they have a deadline. Right? And so I feel it's our responsibility, as coaches and guides, to be able to help them make that decision, yes or no. Because if there's no decision, then, we're definitely not helping them, and if we make sure that, we are obviously in alignment with what the goals are, and we're not looking to push anybody to make a decision or agree to a solution that they don't really truly believe could help them.
Yes. But then it feels like you care about them. And when you were talking at the very beginning about you getting lots of clients, and people are like, how are you doing all of this? I'm pretty sure, I'm just going to say right now that it's because they're feeling some of that caring, some of that empowering side, and not the ickiness that we used to.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Well, I don't like that either. What I'm saying, right. So, and I had some struggles with that when I started with AT&T. because, and it worked through that, because I would always think, well, I don't want to be, I know it's changed over the years, and I don't really still have this full belief today, but, at that time I would hear, I would be telling myself, well, I don't want to sound like a car salesperson. I don't want to sound like a used car sales. I don't want to sound, because I was selling very, complex systems with AT&T. And so I just, it took me a while, and I was new, in sales, but I really had to work through those things and remind myself, well, I'm selling systems, and that's not something that you can really, like, if they don't need it or want it, they're not going to buy it. And if they didn't know, like, and trust me, as we know, is the fundamental, sales process, then they weren't going to purchase it anyways.
Yeah. I laugh because I came out last year basically saying that I call BS on the know, like, and trust.
Oh, okay. I want to hear that. Yeah.
Okay. It's only because I feel as though it's backwards. And we just established that you are the type of sales coach who really embodies that empowerment mindset. And so here's where I feel the fault is.
Okay.
Get to know me. Get to like me. Get to trust me. Me. How does that feel? Right?
Oh.
While true, right? It's being used inappropriately. So I'm asking people to switch that just a little and say, okay, as a mess-to-message person, right? I've been through something, I learned it, and now I'm sharing my experience as a part of the work that I do. I'm asking myself to get to know, like, and trust that old version of me that felt all of the pain and struggle, right? That piece that we don't generally want to look at because it's painful. But when we don't look at it, we're telling our clients we don't want to look at you. Oh, that's a gut punch, right?
Wow.
So if I can get to know, like, and trust that old version of me, I can come from a wonderful foundational place of empowerment. Then from there, I can actually get to know, like, and trust the ideal clients that I want to work with because they are a reflection of that old version of me. And then when they start to feel that, they're starting to learn that they can be cared for in that space. And so they'll get to learn to know, like, and trust themselves. And then once that has been established, at least to a certain point, a foundational point, it naturally happens back with us. Naturally. But there's all of those steps that need to happen. And it's very intricate with all of the mental health and psychology behind it.
Yes.
To have them reciprocate that. But when people say know, like, and trust, they don't ever talk about all of that stuff in behind. And so that's where I want to change the conversation.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love that. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
That's so powerful, Laura. And, I definitely agree, that that is something, those intricate steps, those need to definitely occur. That's, that's super important. I think that, I can relate to that because, I'm just thinking, like what I have always focused on when I was doing sales, and really learning everything or enrolling clients, into our business, I really focused on them.
Yes.
And because, and it is truly all about them. What problems do they have that they don't want, and what solutions are they seeking that they haven't found yet? And it really is all about them. It's not about us. So I guess, to your point, that, like just saying the know, like, and trust is not deep enough is what I'm realizing when I'm talking to you, because there are other things that have to go on in order for that transaction. I mean, obviously there has to be trust, in a transaction. But one of the things that was apparent to me, well, not everybody buys into that. Okay.
I know,
And
yeah.
right. And when I was running a private duty caregiving agency, I was the main person to enroll the clients. And what I was hearing from some of the people, the families, is that they didn't feel heard, in a lot of cases, because they would have caregivers come in that from other agencies that wanted to do and run things the way that they thought was best without considering what the actual, what the patient needed or wanted.
Yeah.
And obviously that wasn't the way that we approached it, because I felt that, from a sense of empowerment, of course, the patient or the client, they needed to buy into what, who was going to be there. Like,
Yeah.
some people had memory issues, right? So why would they think somebody's going to knock on their door and then they're going to go right into the shower and they're going to help them bathe, and so what was helpful, as I was getting to know some of these families, was the fact that, we needed to determine, what would their ideal caregiver look like and act like. And, so that that loved one could consider welcoming that person into their home, as opposed to being resentful. So I kept it all about them, which I found, interestingly enough, a lot of the other agencies that were around when I was doing that were not doing that. They had the best intentions, because the caregivers would be like, well, no, we need to get bathed and get dressed first, when in reality, that patient didn't want to do it then. So, being a little bit flexible with a schedule and allowing them a sense of empowerment, was the key.
Yep. My aunt, I think she's my aunt. No. Somewhere, my family's kind of messed up. I'm like the very youngest of my generation. So my cousins are about 40 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
The family.
Somebody in my family's going through that right now. Like, she's
Oh.
just kind of going into a home, but she does have dementia. So there's a lot of those questions being asked. And some of those concerns are popping up. I'm probably having that conversation later today.
Yes. Well, yes, I know, it's not easy,
No.
with the conversations. And there were many tables that I sat at that, there would be bantering back and forth, between the patient and the family. It's not easy, for anyone. And uh, and people, with dementia, they have, they do have lucid moments. So I'm sure there are some times when your aunt is like she, was before, but you just never know when those lucid moments are going to happen. So it's always nice to be hopeful, that they are going to have some lucid moments. But then that's sometimes what brings up the emotions, because they're not understanding. They have a health condition, and they're not thinking that they're being heard either.
So I want to make sure that. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
You are the happy executive, and you work with executives. Do you work directly just with the person, or do you go into their company and try and makes probably the one way, try and inspire their staff and their colleagues to be happier as well? Or is it just the individual executive? So is it the executive or the company and the staff? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Oh, it is everyone. It can be everyone. There are some that I just work with the executive or founder. We do a lot with, technology and healthcare clients as well. But all of those, sometimes I would start with the executive, or the founder. And then as we move forward, we would have a plan in place so that we can also work with the teams, especially the sales teams, because that is our focus, and we want happy sales teams. So, yes.
So
I wanted to come back. Go ahead.
Sorry, do you run workshops for the staff then, and trainings and different things like that?
Yes, workshops for the staff and trainings. And one of the things that I feel is very important is if I do a speaking engagement, whether it's in person or virtual, I do like to package it so that we have follow-up, because we all know as speakers that that people, they'll in 30 days, they may not remember everything we said. They'll remember how they felt, right, with us, how we made them feel. But I feel that it has to be actionable. And one of the areas that has been helpful to our clients, depending on needs, of course, has been emotional intelligence. And so in emotions, I'm gonna get to hear what Laura says about that. So I'm super excited. And the thread that was running through that was like an aha to me would be I would be speaking to these executives, and this goes back about 5 years or so. And I'd be speaking to these executives, and I would hear like the same complaints.
Yes.
And the most common complaint from the executive was, I'm just not getting enough out of my team. Not getting enough out of my team. I really feel that they need to step it up. These were the things that I was hearing, and especially in the technology sector. Because, with the executives that are cybersecurity, CIO, CISO, it like one day their job can be, absolutely awesome. And the next day there can be an event that they call RPE, which is resume producing event. So like if they had a breach, then they have to get their resume out because they're probably going to be losing their job. So as you can imagine, because they always, there has to be some responsibility or blame, whether it's accurate or not, right? Yeah. So it's a stressful environment. And when they're trying to lead a team, and if they don't feel that their team is doing their part, they're not doing enough, then of course that's not how we build relationships. And so that was, like I said, the common thread that I saw. And so that's when I started doing emotional intelligence training, or EQ. And those, actionable steps those were things, right, that they could start doing. They could start building relationships that same day, to really, take an interest in their teams, to show their teams that they care, so that they were able to get more productivity. And of course, the surveys were better as well. They were significantly improved by 30-40%, because their team was, they felt they were being heard and seen, and it wasn't all, running the code, or it wasn't all, the algorithms, because they felt valued.
It's as simple as treating human beings like human beings.
That's true. Yes, that's a great way to say it.
But you can say it simply, but the execution of it isn't so simple.
Right. Well, that's true. Yes. Yes.
No, I love that you brought up the word thread. I was piqued, and of course I'm excited about emotional intelligence, because emotions do play a role. I talk about something that I call the emotional thread, because when we see patterns, and of course I love patterns, as we've mentioned like so many times this week, I want to know the pattern behind the behavior, the pattern behind the experiences. Why do these things keep happening? And even as entrepreneurs, like, we have our origin story or our hero's journey story, that struggle story that we talk about. But then instead of just staying there and staying in that moment, that initial trigger or cue of a moment, it evolves. I want to know the thread of the evolution. So it's the same thing with your executives. You're like, yeah, this was the moment, but how is it shifting and changing? And then when we implement things, how is it shifting and changing from there?
Yes, so key. And are you also referring to, like, how did they get to that point of believing that they weren't getting enough out of their team, or are you looking forward? Like, what?
I like to focus on the emotional thread. So many people focus on the actions and results. Those are the easier ones to identify because we want to talk about them. The emotional threads we tend to not want to talk about. So then if the same kind of situation is happening, but it looks different each time, what is the emotional need that's not being met? And how can we meet that need? And for all of these stories. So for me, like, rejection is one of those things in my story that keeps popping up. And so that explains my constant desire to connect with people. I talk about courageous connection. So I'm like, what is the other end of the stick? So then when we look at these situations with the executives and they're talking about, I'm putting words in your mouth, a lack of support from their team, I always want to look inward. How am I not supporting myself? How am I not supporting my team? Where are they not feeling supported within themselves and their lives, either at home or at work? Then I have to have that conversation with them. Hey, I'm just checking in. I've noticed these types of things are happening. What's going on? How can I support you right now? Right? And then there's all that training that you have of the emotional intelligence where you have those intricacies to have those conversations and help leaders have those conversations.
Right.
But then you can see how things will shift if you start asking, right? I want to receive love. I have to give love. I want to receive support. I have to give support.
So very, very true. And it does everything, truly begins with you, right? With you, Sandra, with me. But not everybody sees it that way.
Yeah.
And I've found that with that, like you said, like the emotional thread and the common phrases, complaints that I would hear, a lot of those leaders, those executives came from a military background. And so the environment, right? The environment and what they were used to, as opposed to, in the military, if they gave orders, right? And those orders were executed on and they could see the results. But then, if there was more to it and, I need to have a relationship, like you're saying, if I want to receive love, I need to give love. If I want to feel that they care more about me, I need to care about them. Right. So I feel that a lot of it was, of course, changing the way that they think about it, which is what, the training involved, and really asking them to step up and do some things differently.
Yep. I love that. So we have about a couple minutes. I want to know just so that we can really hone in, like, what is one thing that you really need people to take away from this conversation? And then we'll ask where to find you.
Oh gosh. Okay. So yes. So one thing, I just really want people to be able to be seen and be heard. And I feel that, if it's just one thing, I have to speak to the introverted professionals who, are thinking, well, maybe it's not the right time, to scale my company, or maybe it's not the right time to, launch a new product. I feel that, I just want them to know that what they do and, you know, their IP is so very important to the world. But they have to get out there. You know, they have to have a vehicle. They have to have support, that people that can teach them what they need to do so they can get out there and, you know, and be heard and get seen and really make that difference in the world that they are seeking to do, but they may just not know how. And perhaps they have tried things that they thought would work that wouldn't. But I would say I don't want them to give up, ever.
Oh, never give up. Okay.
Never.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Where do we find you? And then what is your favorite way to communicate with people?
So LinkedIn is the platform that I'm on most of the time. And I'm there, Victoria Huff, the Happy Executive. I put the same thing so that people could find me. So just send me a DM on LinkedIn if there's anything that I can help you with. If there was something that I said that you'd love to know more about, I'd love to have a conversation. I love meeting new people and really, you know, drilling down, finding out, you know, what is it that really gets them out of bed and charged up every day.
Oh, I love all of that. I want to say thank you so much for being here and for playing along with all of our questions and different ways and directions that the conversation took. You never know where it's going. It's kind of fun.
I love it. It was just delightful. I look forward to speaking to you, getting to know you more, Laura and Sandra. It was just a delightful way to spend some time with both of you today.
Aw, awesome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Take care.
And Katherine, I see you in the background. Just let me know if you're ready. Awesome. Are you going to dance with me? Is that what we're doing?
Oh yeah. I'm like, I've got my coffee. I just had some fresh coconut water. So.
Oh, interesting.
It's
so it's been a little while since I had a chat with you.
I know. How are you?
I'm still in chaos, but I am managing.
Yeah. So congratulations on being a human being.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's like everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me.
Oh, thank you, Abraham.
I've been through everything I've ever been through, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
7 times over with about 15 to 20 honorable mentions. So I'm still here. Yeah. It's all good. But let's talk about you, Katherine. I have this question that I like to just kind of like land on people when they come in and they're like, what? It's great. It's fun. Don't worry about it.
Bring it. Bring it.
Awesome. Okay. What is the answer to the universe and all things?
Love.
That wasn't actually the question, but I love your answer.
Okay. Yeah.
I was testing if you were a nerd. You didn't say 42.
Yeah. Expansion. Love and expansion. Yeah.
I do love that. No, the actual question was, okay, if you could have other people use 3 words to describe you today, what would you love those words to be?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that question.
I enjoy it.
The first one that like popped into my mind is effervescent.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to use that one. Effervescent.
I'm assuming I'm spelling that incorrectly, but continue. What does it mean for those who don't know?
So, that's a trick question now. So
I can look it up if you want.
Is kind of like glimmery, like luminescent, like not bubbly, but like glowing. Like you might see. So there's this place in Jamaica where the water kind of reaches there's a river that kind of reaches into the ocean, and it's full of silt, and there are these phytoplankton that at night they glow in the dark, so they're like effervescent. You can like swim in it. It's really, really cool. And the water, when it trickles down your hair, it looks like little stars falling down your hair. So yeah,
that's it up because I love dictionary.com. It's like one of my favorite. It said vivacious and enthusiastic. It's like
that works too.
That's great. Or giving off bubbles and fizzy. So
fizzy bubble, vivacious, enthusiastic.
Okay.
So that would be one.
Yeah.
one, and you might have to help me find the word here, but it's like deep but not deep. So it's like a combination of deep and grounded and solid. So and kind of where this is coming from is I've done my work, and not that we're ever done doing our work, because if we're breathing, we still, we've got this opportunity to do work, but I've been into can I like drop a swear word?
As long as it's not like an F word or a racial slur, I think we're okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been through my own shit. I've been into the shit, right? So when you've done that work yourself, there's this capacity to hold that space for other people as they're navigating it. Yeah. Because you're safe in yourself. You've been to the depths, you know how to get out. You're not getting triggered. You're not, you know what I mean? You're not freaking out. So I don't know what that word would be. Can dictionary.com help us out?
Well, thesaurus.com will.
Oh.
They're two of my favorite websites. That's fine. So let's look up deep. Just see what kinds of things pop into extending very far, abstract, complicated, and meaning. There we go. Acute, complex, difficult, heavy, hidden, profound. Ooh, I kind of like that one.
Ooh, I like
Serious.
profound.
Yeah.
Mysterious? I don't know if I'm really all that mysterious.
Ooh, here's a word I don't really know. Abstruse?
Oh.
Do you know what that means?
I have no idea.
Me neither. Let's look it up.
Let's go deeper.
Oh, where did it go? Okay, I'm going to have to abstruse.
So I'm going to sprinkle that into a conversation today. So just so you know, that's going to show up today somewhere.
It says hard to understand, recondite, or esoteric.
That's not me.
No. Okay. We'll think about it. Continue.
What about deep or profound? Does that describe you?
I think those are probably the best ones to describe it. But there's just this like state of like solidness, right? Solidness in who I am, solidness in holding space, solidness in the work that I do, solidness in my clients. Like one of the things that I do really well is actually lending my belief, because I'm also an energy worker, I'm a coach, and I do like a lot of things, but being able to actually like energetically create a container and elevate my clients through the energetic resonance. So maybe profound, we could try profound, effervescent, profound. Okay. And then a third one, a third word. Caring. I give all the F's.
I'm just picturing like the letter F, it's just a big group of them, and you're just
right. I actually do that, Laura. I do that. I'm like all the F's. I do. I do that. Yeah. I give all the F's. I do. I really do.
But do you put them in an envelope and send them to people?
Now I would. Now
you will.
It's a little tricky getting mail out of where I live, so I'll have to kind of like think about that. Yeah, it's not really
email. You can make like a very fancy F,
or like
and then make sure that your logo or your face or something is in it, and then you're like, I'm giving you all the F's.
Oh, I could do like that. I could do like a what is I always like say these wrong, but like a Giphy or like a GIF.
Oh, the GIFs, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I could do F's for you, F's for you, F's for you.
You get an F and you
right? I love that. Oh my goodness.
So then let's learn a little bit more about what it is that you do, and then we'll talk about why. So what do you do?
The kind of like glib retort is whatever I want.
Oh, awesome.
Whatever I want. So I support female entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders to get out of their own way so that they can have the results that they desire in their life and their business. Mm-hmm. And it's through the practical application of spiritual tools and principles combined with a structure of accountability, support, and technical planning. So energy loves structure. Like energy, if you think about the power of a laser beam as compared to the power of a candle, it's that focused structure, right?
Yeah.
The power of like a pressure washer. I love pressure washing. It's so fun. The power of a pressure washer versus like a gentle rain. I mean, it's not gentle rainstorms where I am, but just like rain is kind of diffuse. But when it's focused, you got so much more power. And so energy, actually, an energy like the universal energy, spirit, God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it, responds really well when we actually create it for a structure for it to flow into. So I help women to identify, like, if I could create anything that I wanted in my business and my life, and if I really thought that it was possible, like, what would I actually, if I dared to dream, what would I actually love to create? And so dream big, and then we bring it into tactics. Because the other thing is, you can't just sit on the couch and hope it's going to knock on your door.
Nope.
You gotta take some steps. You've got to take some action. So helping people to identify, like, what is that aligned action? What is my frequency? What is the vibration? Because you can take action from a push energy, and you're gonna get to a certain point, but often you're going to burn out. It's not sustainable because you actually haven't shifted your self-image, your subconscious beliefs to correspond to that level of good in your life. So yeah, that's what I do. It's awesome. I love it.
I thought of a great visual to go with what you were just sharing with us. You had mentioned a candle, but then you had also mentioned a laser beam because the light is so focused.
Mm-hmm.
I have this story in my mind where I want to be that candle in the cave to help light other people's candles so that we can eventually all find our way to the cave.
Yeah.
The word that I use is luminary. But did you know that you can use mirrors to help focus the light of a candle to create much like a laser beam? So now all of our clients, all of our followers, all of our audience and people that care about us are these mirrors that refocus our light into that laser beam. And I'm like, oh, that is so cool.
That is
Can
very
you imagine surrounding yourself with the right kind of people to help focus your little candle of the light?
Yeah. And that is yeah, I'm actually launching something in November. So I've been running it as kind of so I'm in the second year of running it. It's been a really small, intimate group of women, business owners and leaders, entrepreneurs. And they've had it's a 12-month container. They've had such phenomenal results. Like, one of the women wasn't even getting 10,000 months, and she just had her first $100,000 month recently. And so her annual income has quadrupled, her business income. She got married, bought her dream house, has healed relationships, has expanded her team, opened up a brand new business in addition to her regular business. I have other members who have one of the things that we work with is, how do you actually tap into a greater flow of abundance? And one of the ways that you can do that is to activate the law of circulation through tithing. So one of the other women in it, she's now tithing more than she used to make on a monthly basis. So she has 10x'd her income, right? And so the results have just been so phenomenal. And we're into the second year now. So I'm actually going to be opening it up in November to a wider group of people. And that's exactly what it is, right? You become the 5 people you spend the most time with: your beliefs, your income, your outlook, your attitude. And so often, and you talked about luminaries, so often when people are luminaries, when they want to be that light in the world, they don't necessarily have a community that really gets it, right? Their friends, their family, their coworkers. Oh, you want to do what? What are you thinking, right? You don't have the education, the training, that whatever it is. And so people tend to dim themselves. And so when you're in a community of like-minded people, it lifts you up. You're lifting each other up. So I love that.
That's exactly what Blue Talks has done. My family is I don't get you.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're doing. This doesn't make sense to me. But I'm also from a small town where people didn't really go anywhere. And much of my generation is the first generation to go to college or university.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So like this is all new. So then to be in a community like Blue Talks, where there's people from all over the place who actually care about you. I mean, not everybody, obviously, but like many of them do. And they want to share your message. They want to learn. They want to have conversations, and they get excited just because you're an entrepreneur like them. It's like this is such a heartfelt community. I love being part of it.
Yeah, it really is. It really is, right? And to have that community and to be able to connect like in person and online and be like, okay, here's my people, right? It's so powerful.
Oh, we were just talking with Ilona earlier, and she was like, yeah, people have called me crazy. I'm like, but you're my kind of crazy. So, I mean, it's all good.
Right? Yeah.
And you came on dancing with me, so I'm pretty sure you're my kind of crazy too.
And have you seen my this is decaf coffee now, sadly, but this is my coffee cup. Like, I can't even right? Just to give you a sense of scale.
Oh, yeah. No.
Here's a phone for scale. So this might be like a little bit of a...
Oh, wow. That's much bigger than I thought.
I know, right? I had to give you a sense of scale for it. So got the coffee, got the dancing. Life is good.
Great.
Life is good. Yeah.
So then, have you honed down what your message is, or are you still working on that? So if you could encompass what it is you're just trying to get people to understand about your work, what kind of things would you tell them?
That is, that's perfect timing because I'm actually working on messaging right now.
I had a feeling.
You're tapped in.
Workshop it right now.
Right. So it's about, and this is just me, right?
Yeah.
So it's about the fact that you get further when you're surrounded by like-minded people, right? You get further when you have a mentor. You get further when you learn to believe in yourself, right? Because in this journey of entrepreneurship, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have failures, quote unquote failures. You're going to have things that don't go as you planned. It's going to be maybe harder than you thought. And so to have that just that knowing that it's not you, you're not doing it wrong. It's just how it is. Like, I remember in a previous iteration of who I am in this life, I was the president of our Chamber of Commerce, had a really, kind of quote unquote successful business when you looked at it from the outside. And yet I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. And when I had authentic conversations with people, most people felt like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing. And one of the things that really kind of mind blew for me, it just shifted that paradigm, was when we had quite a big client, a kind of multiple $100 million sized company, and they had all the MBAs and the CPAs and the CMAs and the finance experts, legal people. They had all of the people who should know what they're doing, and they went bankrupt. So I'm like, oh, so okay, so even the people who I thought should know what they're doing, they don't actually know what they're doing either. So it just, and so many people that I talk to, there's this idea, this sense that I'm doing it wrong. I don't know, I don't know what I'm about here. Everybody else has it figured out. So the one thing would be to let people, actually nobody really knows. It's an experiment, right? Life is an experiment. Business is an experiment. And so to give yourself compassion and grace and recognize that you're going to fall down in the journey. And that's okay. And that's actually good because it means that you're stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Okay, that actually reminds me of a Facebook post that I saw yesterday. And it was basically saying there's this monster, choose your favorite monster, Frankenstein, Freddy, whatever. But the thing that you just took the last photo of is the thing that you trip over and he catches you. So I'm going through my photos. And then I had a floor plan. I have a ringing in my ear. I had a floor plan of one of the houses I'm trying to buy. And I was like, so I trip over a floor plan? This monster gets me. But then it does make me think of business. It can be as simple as this thing that we never even thought about that could trip us up. So what are some of the things that are around you in your everyday, not necessarily this big, huge thing, but your everyday that could be tripping you up? Maybe it is your morning routine. Maybe it's the tools that you're using or your lack of knowledge for resources and tools. Maybe you don't have a mentor. Think about those kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and often the things that trip us up are actually inside of us, right? It's our. So I love the analogy of have you seen The Croods, the movie, the cartoon, The Croods?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's this like cave family, Neanderthal cave family, and they live in a cave, and the dad is like, stay in the cave, it's safe in the cave, it's safe in the cave. And then this like person, this is like, I guess like different Homo sapiens comes along and is all like adventurous, and then the family goes on this adventure. But it's like the Croods, right? Our subconscious mind, our belief system wants us to stay in the cave, and the cave is just what we've known. So often the things that trip us up is our internal belief system about what's possible, what's capable, our sense of self-identity, who do we think we actually are, our patterns, our behaviors, right? And so when we start to actually step outside the cave or even think outside the cave, our internal structures are going to do everything they can to keep us in the cave just because it's familiar. Just because it's familiar. Like I can't even count the number of people I've talked to. They've done a course, they've listened to a podcast, they've, been on a webinar, they've read a book, and they get all inspired, and they like maybe take a couple of actions, and then the internal stuff starts to be like, right. And we're not even aware of that it's like freaking out. But then they delay. I'll just like do the laundry first, or I'll wait till the kids are, out of school. I'll wait till the summer's over when the kids are back in school. So we have these internal things that kick us off, that hang us up, if that makes sense.
Oh, it definitely makes sense. I used to write questions on my mirror so that I could see it every day when I got dressed in the morning. One of those questions was about me having a fear of success at the time. I uncovered the story behind it. It's a whole other thing, not quite my story to tell. But basically it was, I thought that if I was successful, somebody else was going to react in a certain way and that they would do things that I did not desire, which were extreme. And so I was like, can't be successful. Yeah. So then I put the question on my mirror that basically said, how can I make my desired future more familiar? How can I make my fears more familiar? Because it wasn't about, just resolving the belief. That's a part of it. But it was also the subtleties behind it where I'm comfortable in the things that I know, just like everybody else. But if I'm wanting this future and I have a big why, but it feels so far away from me, I'm still not going to want it because my first emotional need is safety. My first physical need is safety. My first spiritual need is safety. If that's not being met by my big audacious goal, I'm not going to take actions toward it. Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the kind of, so I have like a three prong approach, and one of the prongs is really working with your nervous system, right? Because if your desired future, your vision, your goals, your what you would love out of life, it's unfamiliar. Anything unfamiliar is going to feel unsafe, right? Anything, even if it's like the best thing possible that you can imagine, it's going to feel unsafe because it's unfamiliar. So actually learning how to work with your nervous system so you can, like, first of all, notice when you're in that fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? And for simplification, we just call constricted when it feels constricted. And you can notice like, oh, like I'm kind of down a like crazy train of my thoughts. I go there too sometimes. I'm feeling anxious. I'm worried. I'm whatever it is you notice. You're just like, like high five for noticing. Good job, me. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm amazing. Because so often we want to beat ourselves up when we notice. So we just flip that around. We pause and we work with our breath. And so this is like a super simple thing that anybody can do anywhere, anytime. So you just breathe like in through your nose and then out through your mouth like a straw. And you're not counting it. It's not like a 4 and 4. It's not like you're not worrying about anything like that. But what it is you're finding your breath. You're finding your breath. So just in through your nose. And just like really gently through a straw. And you notice your nervous system's like, right? And that breath, that particular type of breath actually shifts you from that sympathetic, which is the kind of like, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, into the parasympathetic, whereas the rest I just create. And so when you're noticing, like you're thinking about your big goal or you've got your vision or what you would love, and you notice you're starting to like, you can just like take that breath. And then you can insert like an affirmation and a belief statement. You can, one of the most powerful things you can do is actually change your state. So you can change your state by bringing to mind and heart something that you're grateful for, right? Because that has an energetic frequency to it. And so you're starting to familiarize your nervous system with what that desired future is going to feel like. So that when it starts to show up, you're not like freaking out. You're actually like making it welcome.
I love that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I first started talking, when you introduced me, because I said that I saw Tony Robbins live on stage in 2012. That was the start of my self-love journey. And he taught us how to change our state through movement and music. That's when I become the younger version of me, actually. So loads of people are like, I went to this personal development event, or I saw Tony Robbins, and I realized like the mature me. And I'm like, no, I realized something different. I'm the younger teenager self that I was always born to be. And that's the life I lead now. And I'm much happier. And I reprogrammed my mind to be like 21 years old using NLP years ago. So yeah, so it does really work.
It totally works, right? And you can shift your state in any moment, anywhere, anytime, right? But it takes practice and just noticing. And then also practice and actually like, what is my desired state? So when you are in a calm place, like when you're at home, maybe you're doing your morning routine if you have one, or it's in the evening, whenever it is, and you take those breaths, right? And then calibrate to gratitude. And not just like thinking, but the feeling, because the feeling is actually the vibration. The feeling is what's going to start to shift your nervous system. It starts with the thoughts, and then you bring it into your body. You can calibrate your state to your vision itself. So when you think about, like Laura, you talked about your amazing goal, right? So you can bring to mind that amazing goal and imagine, like, how will it feel when I'm living that life? How will it feel when I have achieved that? What will I be thinking? What are the like really specific thoughts, right? How am I going to be standing? How am I going to be dressing? How am I going to be showing up? How's my body going to feel, right? And the more familiar you get with that, the more you can actually bring it into your reality right here, right now. And you can choose and train yourself to feel that reality now. And then when you start to feel that reality now, when you're really intimately familiar with, well, this woman thinks this way. This woman makes these types of decisions. This woman takes these kinds of actions. Then you can start to take them now. And then that reality, just like starts to show up in your life. It's very cool.
It is very cool. I like to use the analogy of, okay, the intention is to give you a hug. What would my physical stance be? Because I talk about emotional stances. So if I'm doing this as my physical stance, right? Are you expecting a hug from me? No.
Not a happy hug.
Yeah. So if I'm in an emotional stance of desperation, are you expecting caring from me? Are you expecting empathy from me?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about emotional intelligence with the last conversation. And that's the same kind of thing. How are we showing up emotionally in our emotional stance? How are we showing up physically in our physical stance?
Yeah.
What are those thoughts, beliefs, actions, all of that?
Yeah. And then the emotion too is it's a vibration, right? So your emotion is it's an actual, it creates a physical, like an energetic vibration. And so that vibration is actually sending out like a message to the universe. Other people pick up on it, right? And it starts to also activate that reticular activating system in your brain that's like filtering out consciousness. So it's like if you're like stressed and worried and like, oh, how am I going to pay for this thing? How am I going to afford that? What if it goes wrong? It's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to find evidence to support that. I listen and I obey, right? But if you start asking questions like, well, what if it goes right? What if it was easy? What if I could, right? What if it was possible?
I picture the reticular activating system as a bouncer, like a club. It's like, who's getting in, who's not.
I love
But then the sneaky people, that's the sense of smell, right? That's the only thing that's past it, is a sense of smell. So, which is why I love essential oils so much, because I can be very focused, as we were talking about lasers, with how I want to feel to get to my emotional stance, even though there's all this other stuff that's blocked by that mental bouncer, the reticular activating system.
And essential that would actually be a great anchor as well. So Sandra, I'm familiar with NLP. You'll know that from the NLP stuff, right? So to actually get yourself generated into a state of the vision of what you would love, your goal, your, your audacious goal, and then to really be embodying that, feeling it as if it's happening right now, and then to anchor it with a specific scent that you only use for that. Right. Yeah, you can do physical anchors or, lots of things. But like you said, if the scent is what actually bypasses the reticular activating system, anchoring with that as well. So having like physical anchors that you can use, having like, and a scent that's kind of specifically associated with that type of feeling or vibration. I love that.
For those who don't know what anchors are, can you explain it to the audience? Because there might be some people who don't actually understand what that is.
Yeah. So an anchor is a way of when you, so this is my understanding, and please, Sandra, jump in if there's more to add or I'm missing something. My understanding is an anchor is something, and it could be often it's a physical anchor. I'll use a rock as an anchor, crystals, scents. But it's something that when you consciously generate a certain state or an outcome and you're feeling it right now, it's a thing that you can basically anchor that feeling in, so that when you then want to generate it again, you do this, wherever, and again, it can be anywhere, right? But then you touch that spot and it elicits. So it's like a conditional behavioral conditioning.
Yeah, I can add to that if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
I'd like to think of it as a shortcut to an experience or a state of being. So sometimes I'll call it a mental shortcut. I do like the physical anchors. You do create a space, and sometimes it takes you an hour to get there. But then once you're there and you're feeling it and you're amplifying it, then you create a physical or scent, right? Anchor or shortcut, so that when you do that a few times, you start to train your body to get to that point faster, and you're building it and building it and building it over. Sometimes it takes 3 times, sometimes it takes 5 times before you really feel it quickly. Then every time you use it afterwards, it's as simple as tapping your baby finger. And this one for me means a sense of feeling luminous, feeling like I'm playful and that I have an impact and that I'm influential and successful. That's what this one means. This one actually is my sense of feeling love and compassion for myself, because these are some of the things that I needed support with. And so I created physical anchors for them. So now in my worst days, when I can't take an hour to go through the process of getting there, I just need to tap my physical anchor and I get to that state really quickly. I do that with something that I call the good day cookie. I teach people to create a physical anchor in their palm as an imaginary good day cookie. So when they pretend to eat it, they just tap their hand. And so all of those key components of self-regulation and emotional regulation happen for what you need and you've created in the palm of your hand.
I love that description. That was so much more better.
More better. I love it.
more better. So much more better.
Whatever words come to mind.
Thank you.
I'm one of those people where I love to get different definitions from all these different facets of life so that I can simplify and combine in a way that I understand. I never just read one book or one article. It's probably like 100 articles to every book.
Yeah. I love that. And I do something similar in my work with my clients. Like we always start a call by generating state. Actually, that's like the first thing that we do. And we take about, I don't know, like 10 to 15 minutes to generate state. And I was describing it to a shaman friend of mine. And she's like, oh, you're doing magic. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of cool. But it's like, right, by the intention, the energy, the frequency. And we'll take that time to really ground and center and then consciously, right, work with the energy of the state that we're wanting to embody. And so I think I'm going to add a shortcut and add an anchor to that. So thank you for that description, Laura. That is fantastic. Love it.
Well, I grew up with computers, so part of my language would be computers, right? I also grew up with architecture, so I use a lot of that language as well, talking about spaces and foundations and building and that kind of stuff.
I wanted to ask Katherine a question. When people are struggling, they have stress and anxiety, in order to let it out, how would you go about it? Because I know suppressing and repressing emotions, like negative emotions, can obviously lead to a lot of internal damage and different dis-ease in the body. And so sometimes we can't always think in the best way. I believe in getting those emotions out as quickly as possible and going through them. What is your belief with that? And how do you help clients with that?
That is a great question, Sandra. I actually have a client who, when we started working together, would actually physically vomit. Her anxiety was so significant. Like she would like be throwing up a lot. And now it's like not even, we did some work with it, and it's a process, right? But we did some work with it, and she kind of like jokingly gave it a name. And now she'll say like that name has left the building. So it's funny. So it's a combination of things. So the first thing is learning how to notice when you're feeling it, right? Because often people are in a pattern where it takes over and they may not notice it until they're like way down the path with it. So as we start to develop our noticing, we notice it sooner, and then we're actually starting to notice the triggers, and we're noticing the things that start to cause it. So when we celebrate ourselves, right? So we're like the high five, pat on the head, the shimmy, fireworks, right? We're celebrating ourselves for the noticing, because that takes skill. And so with the noticing, wherever we are, so if we notice that we're kind of like in the anxiety, it's that breath, right? It's that breath to calm our nervous system, to start to help our nervous system to self-regulate. And then over time, it gets to a point where we start to notice where those triggers are, and we can start to self-regulate at that point. So in terms of expressing the emotion, I have a couple of thoughts about that. So there's emotion where it's a kind of a deep stored emotion, and I think that's really healthy to be able to get out in a safe and appropriate way. If it's an emotion where it's like taking over, so someone has like uncontrolled anger, they have, like things that are kind of like coming up, like the anxiety that's like it's not functional. And I just actually read a book by the Heart Math Institute, and they've got some research in there where they found that it's actually not healthy to just allow the emotions to run all the time, because then that's you're ramping up your system, right? So it's about developing a level of discernment about when you need to release stored emotions, because yes, absolutely, they get stuck in the body, right? It's not healthy. And then how do you actually manage them so that you're not kind of getting caught up in it, right? So they're not like running your life. Does that make sense, Sandra?
Yeah, I've got generalized anxiety disorder, by the way, that I manage really well. I was born into trauma, so I have pre-birth trauma. I was a distressed baby for over 12 hours, so that was quite difficult. But I'm very consciously aware of myself and the noticing and everything like that. So I've done a lot of work in that regard with what you're saying. I can really relate to it. So for me personally, I do work through the emotions. So if I'm upset, say I've gone on a date and the guy, because I'm asexual, it's quite difficult to get the right guy. And some guys are like, oh, I'm really fine about you being asexual. I go on this wonderful date and I find out like later during the date that I really can't accept your asexuality. And I get upset. And I think that's fine. I do it on my channel to show asexuals how I'm upset now. Then 1 or 2 days later, I will show them. And then 1 or 2 days later, I will tell them all the techniques of how I'm overcoming that upset and pain, so that I can inspire them how they get over it. And I have learned, exactly as you say, that when you let the emotions out, you've got to have a cutoff point. I make sure that at a certain point in time, I'm like, that's enough now, because otherwise you get used to that state and you end up going more and more into it and it becomes counterproductive. So you've got to have a thing like, this record cannot keep playing. You have to stop it there and then change your state, like go out, do something, go on a self date, go to the cinema, do something for yourself, do something that brings you joy, spend most of your day doing joyous stuff like dancing and just doing what makes you happy, and get into a really better state. So you've released some of it as much as you can, but you've not let yourself spiral. Otherwise you get into an unhealthy pattern. You could sink back into depression again, and it's, you know, that's not healthy either. So yeah, I really relate.
Yeah, and you know, and it's important to honor, right? The human experience, to honor the things that are difficult, to honor the things that feel painful, to honor that, and then to be able to make a decision. Am I going to feed this? Right? How much of my life energy am I going to give this? So yes, as we're navigating this human experience, we're going to have things that are painful, hurtful, difficult, right? That's how we grow. That's all stuff that allows us to decide how we're going to show up to it. And so we want to honor it, right? We're not doing a spiritual bypass. It's not like, la, 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 everything's fine, la, la, la. That's not what we're doing, because that's not healthy either. So we honor it, but then we get to decide, what am I going to do with this? Right? How much of my life energy am I going to give to this? And some things, heavier content, and you know, sometimes we dip in and out. We dip in and out. Some things are a little bit easier to kind of like have the human, okay, I'm, you know, feeling this way, and okay, I'm just going to choose to shift my state because I don't want to be here, right? But I'm not kind of like la-la-laing it. And then some things that are a little bit more challenging, and again, depending on our capacity in the moment, what's going on for us, how much work we've done, we might dip in, and we might kind of like, I call it like hanging out in the mud, right? We might be in the ditch, kind of rolling around in the mud. Sometimes we like set up a tent. Sometimes we, you know, camp out there for a while before we're ready to get out. But yeah, it's a process. So it sounds like you really developed some skill there, Sandra.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
And sharing such an important message with other people too, right? In terms
of
what it looks like to do this work.
Yeah, because a lot of people, they think they need to be fully healed and everything has to be perfect before they can go and write the book. They can go on YouTube or do anything. But I am all about, look, I do still have anxiety. I manage it well, but I am here and I can still share my message. It took me 6 years to become a best-selling author. I was like best-selling author like on the 8th of August, and I published that book in 2017, my Asexual Perspectives book, and I took like over 5 years to get 1,000 subscribers on my Asexualize My Asexual Life channel. I've got like over 600,000 views now, but I show people that even if you have some mental health difficulties, even if you have some physical disabilities, because I've got fibromyalgia that I manage extremely well. As you can tell, I'm very energetic. I wrote a book about that you can still achieve your dreams despite your pain, despite mental health difficulties, and you just need to keep working on yourself and be the best version of you that you can be, and then enjoy that you, and you know, get the techniques and skills you can to help yourself as much as possible, then share them with others, with the world. You don't have to be, but most times healing's a long ongoing process for life anyway, so be who you are now in the moment and help others with what you've achieved so far.
Nice. So Katherine, we have about a minute and a half-ish left. I want to make sure that if there's something that you need people to take away from this conversation, let us know what it is, and then tell us, how do we find you?
Well, if you want to come on down to Panama, where we moved in September from Canada, Yeah, so if you want to come to Panama, you can like come and hang out with me here. Otherwise, you can find me on socials, Catalyst Coaching. So Catalyst with a K, like Catherine with a K, coaching with a C, and I'm on all the socials with that. And definitely like DMing me or emailing me is the best way to get me. You can find me on my podcast, My Dead Dragon. My Dead Dragons. That's conversations with women who woke up one day and realized that nobody was coming to save them, so they decided to save themselves. And something I want people to know, I think what's coming up for me is it's never too late, right? Like whatever you have navigated, whatever experiences, like if you are breathing, it's not too late. So live a life that you love. Dare to dream about, what could be possible for you. Because there are, maybe not zillions, but oodles of people out there who are living that life. There are lots of examples, mentors who can help you with that. So, yeah.
I love all of that. I just want to say thank you, Catherine, for being here and being so fun and loving to all of us. It was a delight. We will connect behind the scenes. Yes? Question mark?
Sounds good. And okay, one other thing too before I go, that this, like doing the work doesn't have to be hard. Like you can have fun with it too, right? Like it's like the universe loves fun. The universe loves fun, spontaneity. So have fun with it. Have fun with it.
Yeah. One of my favorite ways is actually power vocals, because it works my vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is the gatekeeper to the stress response. It works with your nervous system. So I'm like, power vocals. Yes. See?
I'm going to Google that right now.
You're going to what?
I'm going to Google that right now.
The vagus nerve?
No, power vocals.
Oh, yeah. Send me your favorite song and I'll.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Bye. Deborah, give me a thumbs up if you were ready to join us. Awesome. I know sometimes we have video issues or sound issues, so I always make sure that you are ready before I just throw you on the screen. Welcome to the screen, Deborah.
Thank you so much.
Where did the smash through mentor come from?
Well, that's a bit of an interesting story. I was looking for a name for one of my companies, and I was talking with a friend, and we were talking about what I was planning on doing with the company. And she said, well, you're just like a get it done kind of girl. She said, why don't you just, you just get it done. You smash through anything. It's amazing what you can do. So all of a sudden, Smash Through Mentor came to us, and that's what I've been.
Okay, so now you have to look up a meme where the Kool-Aid man is smashing through a wall and he says, oh, yeah. Because that's what I'm picturing when you say smash through mentor. It's like a brick wall and this great big cartoon Kool-Aid man goes, oh, yeah.
Well, that is kind of my logo, except that it's a androgynous person smashing through a wall and there's stones everywhere. So,
okay, maybe now you'll have to put it into part of your marketing.
Maybe.
Okay, so we have been having fun with one of my favorite questions now. I think I'm going to have to ask it in every single interview because it's just so interesting. So today, I know that these words can change every single day if you're like me. But today, what are 3 words that you would love other people to use to describe you?
Oh, wow. Well, speaking of wow, because that's like my favorite word, I would like people to say about me that part of my description was that I believe and always will believe in finding the wonder in life and every situation, good, bad, and in between. And the openness, what did it open me up to, and what does it open other people up to? And the wisdom in all of that. Where's the wisdom in those with that, because when you have wonder, I mean, there's so much wonder in the world, right? Just so much. I mean, look at the little ant on the ground, or the little, insect making its own little living all by itself, or the birds. Birds amaze me. They're like so strong. And where I live, we have a lot of wind, right? And man, oh man, I see these birds sometimes trying to take flight, and what happens to them, and they're so strong the way they can just be, and all of a sudden sometimes they'll just take a nosedive because the winds come, and all of a sudden they're just up there, and I think we should be like that.
I love all of that. So tell us what it is that you do, and then how these words/phrases are a part of that. So remind you a belief in finding the wonder in everything, the sparkle, all of that, the openness, and the wisdom. So what do you do, and how does it play a role?
Well, I am a speaker, an international speaker, and I am a #1 best-selling author. And the last book that I compiled is called Live Life in Wow. Uh-oh.
I'm okay. It's all good.
Watch those toes. So the book is called Live Life in Wow, Nuggets of Wonder, Openness, and Wisdom. And I've just recently launched my live event, actually 2 days ago. It's going to be happening on Look for Wow. So I really do believe in that. And I'm wanting other people to believe in it too, because I think right now, the world's so full of doom and gloom, and everybody's, complaining about this, that, and the other thing. But we have our own responsibilities here. And we have a responsibility to ourselves and to each other, not to spread the gossip and the anger and the resentment and all of that. Let's look for something better. Let's just make it better.
So then let's take a moment and just think about some of the things in our life and our business that feel like they're wonder, that they're wow. Can you name a few things for us in your world, Debora?
Oh, wow. See, I say it all the time. I think it must annoy people. But in my world, I do look for the wow as much as I can. And sometimes that's harder than others. I'll admit that. When things sometimes aren't going quite the way I want them to go, or the way I think they should go, instead of, in the universe's timing, because I like to control the world, especially my world. But there's always something in a day to find that wow about. And just even, the help that I've gotten, from one of my authors in my book, Tammy Rader, graciously volunteered her time to do the poster for the event. And she just did such an amazing job. And I go, wow, somebody gave their time for me and for this. Now, yes, she is an author in the book and she's going to be part of the event, but still, she did that for me and was certain to make sure. She said to me, hey, I'm there for you. I want this to work too. And I say wow to that, because she could have done a million other things.
I think this is good, Debora, because what we focus on expands. So the more we focus on negative things, the more we see negative things. So if we focus on, like you say, the wow, the really nice, good things in life, anything, then the more we see of that. I come across some people who watch the news. I don't watch the news on purpose, so I don't put that in my head. And they're like, oh, isn't the world terrible? And I'm like, well, I don't watch that. And so I try to focus on the good things in life. And I think, even if not everything's good, I think if you focus on the positive, you focus on the good when you're around people, if you do an exercise saying, hey, these are beautiful people around me now, I think it really, really helps. How did you get your name, the Smash Through Mentor, by the way?
We just talked about that. You were off camera,
sorry.
Unfortunately. No problem. I'll gladly say it again, because it was really fun and it has served me well. A friend of mine and I she was helping me pick names for a company one of the companies that I was starting. And So I'm saying, I don't know. And we're trying to, go around what I was going to do with the company, which, is going to be, writing and speaking and that sort of stuff. And so she said to me, you're kind of you're just a get her done kind of girl. So, you just smash through stuff and you get it done. And, that's that. So all of a sudden it became Smash Through Mentor.
I expect it to be like the wow mentor, because you were saying about how much about the wows.
Well, wow can feel like smashing through stuff all the time.
Yeah, I agree, Laura.
So, Debora, you had mentioned that you were an author and you were a speaker. Before we get into some of the details around that, why did you choose speaking and authoring a book? Why not podcasting? Why not other things? What is it about Debora that just comes naturally through?
Well, I think it has always come naturally to me. And another book that I'm writing, actually of my own, is called The Bully Lives Within. And it has arisen from when I was a young child, and how one incident of, I call it bullying, a child by a very large, I describe him as a very large red-nosed man standing over me, and I call him the red-nosed bully. How one remark kind of changed the trajectory of my life, because it diminished me at a very young age. And I took that within, and it has affected me throughout my whole life. And even though I have to admit that, I've spoke on stages since I was very young. I used to sing solo and things like that. So I used to, I still was out there, but I always felt inside that I shouldn't be. Nobody wanted to hear me. And yet there I was. And people seemed to want to hear me, but that was very difficult for me to believe. And I'm not a spring chicken anymore, although I wish I was. No, actually I don't. I wouldn't go back for anything. But it's taken me 60 years over 60 years to come to terms with that. So I'm writing the book called The Bully Lives Within, because the big red-nosed bully was long gone. So who and what became the bully?
That's kind of a punch to the gut, isn't it? You're like, oh, it's me. It's my thoughts. It's my beliefs. I can think of countless times where one sentence or even one word from people, not necessarily that I respected, some of them I didn't, where they said a word or a phrase and it really did stay with me years after they said it. One of the ones was a paramedic had said to me, while I'm laying on the ground, not even in the in the ambulance yet, he's like, if you were any other person, you'd be dead right now. And I attest that phrase to causing my PTSD for that accident. Not the fact that I hit a telephone pole, but the way that he had treated me in that moment with just the words that he had said. I was like, it's nothing else that bothers me. It's that. I think we all have those moments. And so now I want to go ask my daughter when we're done here, are there any phrases that you remember me telling you over the years, whether they're good or bad? I want to know what sticks in her head. I want to know how I have affected her, and maybe we can have a conversation about it.
She may not even know.
Exactly. So then do you have conversations with people about their own inner bullies?
Oh, I have many. And that's how one of the reasons this book came to light is actually someone in a group I was in, and I don't know how this came up, but anyway, I mentioned this and about how this affected me, and that I was, thinking at that time of writing the book. And a lady that was in it was in a breakout room, and the lady contacted me via LinkedIn, and we became connections. And she wrote and said, your story could be mine. My story is your story, almost word for word. And she said, this is so important. She said, and I can't talk about it, but I'm sure glad you can. And I've realized that maybe, and my hope is, that by writing this book and sharing stories like the stories that are in Live Life and Wow, and The Bully Lives Within, and the one that I've written in Corey's Marie Diamond book, and the one that I've written in book 3 of Corey's as well, that those stories will help other people. And if it helps 1 or 2 people, or if a parent or a teacher or a grandparent reads The Bully Lives Within and protects that child, because it could have been handled differently. I'm not blaming my parents. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming my parents. I had great parents as far as I was concerned. They weren't perfect, but they were wonderful parents, and I'm glad I picked them. So, but it could have been handled in a way that made me feel more intact. So I'm hoping that by bringing this to light, that adults will think before they say things to children or each other, because there's that child in all of us. Doesn't matter how old we get, we still have that inner child.
I like how that's a pattern that's coming up this week too. Is we're talking about our younger selves, our higher selves being younger versions of ourselves, and these inner children. Have you done inner children work, or do you see yourself as much younger than you are? Because I know I do.
It's funny you say that, because I remember my mom years ago, and somehow the subject came up about this, and she said, I don't feel any older than I did when I was 19. I know when I look in the mirror, I look older, and sometimes my body tells me that I'm older. But she said, and that's true. That's true as we get older. My nephews have said to me, you'll never be old. You're just, you're always the one that's, sort of, well, they don't say I'm the crazy one. They just, I mean, they look at me as being, quite lighthearted, and I can be quite silly, and, I can have some pretty good fun. So I don't know that I think of myself as young anymore, because I don't really want to be young anymore. I like that I've earned every wrinkle I have, and every gray hair on my head.
You look really young though, much younger, because you said it took you over 60 years, so you must be over 60, whereas I thought you were in your 40s.
Oh my God, give this woman money quickly.
Sandra.
Your skin is really good as well. I was saying,
where's
the wrinkles you're talking about? I can't see them.
Well, thank you. Actually, my doctor said that to me the other day. He said, you just have nice skin. He said, you must take really good care of your skin. And I thought that was really nice. So thank you, Sandra. I appreciate that. But no, I'm not afraid to say my age. I'm 67 years old, soon to be 68.
Wow, I would have never. Wow, I would have never have known that. You're a wow, you see, with the way you look as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's go into the books, the speaking. Was there ever a time where you were uncomfortable doing either of those?
Actually, I love speaking on stage. I really do. You can put me in front of a very large group, and I'm pretty comfortable.
Yes, please do.
I think it stems maybe because when I used to sing solo, I started out in church, and sang with the choir, but I did have some solos in there, and the church, held 1,000 people, and, you didn't need microphones because the acoustics were like something out of this world. And so I think that might have been, where I got more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And then, you sing for someone's wedding or things like that, and all eyes are on you at that moment. You wish they weren't. But so and I've had some interesting experiences being on stage. I once sang for a banquet which was considered large at the time. It was about 500 people, and I was 15 years old, and I was singing a song and I forgot every word except the chorus.
Been there.
And excuse me, part of it was in French, and I do not speak French, but of course I learned how to speak. The chorus was in French, or part of it. So I was 15. I had never, been at a place like that. I sang in church and whatnot, but this was, here I am, part of the entertainment for this event, and I can't remember the words, and so I just made them up. And somehow they came together, and I remember the pianist looked at me, and she had the strangest look on her face, like, "What are you singing?" And I got a standing ovation.
Wow.
That's the best. Oh, okay. Let's explore that moment just a little bit more, because that is one of everybody's not everybody, a lot of people's fears when they get on that stage, whether they're used to being on a stage or not. Like, I'm used to being on a stage since I was 4. It's a whole other thing to act and sing and dance than it is to do a talk, right? So if you were in that moment and you were fearing, I'm assuming, like some sort of rejection, people are just going to make fun of you, what did it feel like to have them not react at all the way that you expected?
Well, it stemmed back to the remark.
Oh, yes.
That I didn't deserve to be there, that, even though they were all standing up and clapping and carrying on, they didn't know what the words to the song were.
That's even better.
And that's one thing to remember for people who are speaking.
Yeah.
People don't know what you're going to say next. They have no idea what your talk is how you've prepared it, or if you've prepared it. So they don't know, I mean, I'm just grateful that, my angels and guides were with me to help me through that moment. And I got off the stage, and my parents knew that the words were scrambled.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my dad, "Dad, you have to take me home. You have to take me home right now." And he did, it was a long way from where we lived, and he had to go back. But he took me home because he knew that I just had to go. But because I didn't feel like I deserved the accolades I was getting, which was, I think, the reason I had to go home.
But it's also so nice to hear that when you're in an environment, the people supported you. It wasn't perfect. They didn't know what was going on. You just did the best that you could in the moment, and you were still supported. That feels good. I feel as though it's the same thing with who we choose to hang out with, like the Blue Talks community. It's one of my favorite communities because I relate to it so well. I feel supported here. I feel like they care about me. Or like 99% of them do, right? It's completely different. How have you, I just want to know now, how have you created an environment and a community around you that supports anything that you want to do, whether it is speaking or writing or creating a new tool or a new program? What does that feel like?
Well, I've been really blessed to have a pretty supportive family. My family's pretty great. My sisters are great at supporting me. My brother, my sister-in-law, my family is there for me, and we support each other in those kinds of things. I mean, I'm thrilled when anything good happens to any of them. So we support each other that way. And I also have been blessed. I have amazing friends. And I agree with you. The Blue Talks community, I have made so many good friends in the Blue Talks community, people around the world that, I get to have Zoom calls with, and we talk personally as well as business, that have become my friends. And I feel also very supported in the Blue Talks community, and I love that there's opportunities like this for us to share with other people, and in the books, and being on stage. I'm speaking at the U of C next week, and with Blue Talks, and I spoke at Columbia University, and wow, just some of the people that I met there, I would never have met them And again, they've become wonderful colleagues and friends, and it just wonderful experience.
I love Blue Talks too. Being a part of it, it's really amazing.
So did writing come naturally to you as well?
I don't know. I think when I was a kid, I always wanted to write children's books because I love to read so much. And I thought I just wanted everybody to read, because everybody should read and go off into these fantasy lands of whatever it takes us, And of course, in those days, I was, reading fiction, right? And, stories. So I had it in my head. I've never written a children's book yet, maybe someday. But now I like to, write the other kinds of books. And it happened. I've written poems, a few poems and stuff for people, and I've been invited to write a few articles, years ago and things like that. And writing did come fairly natural. I was good at it in school, but I never really thought about writing a book or being even part of a book until Corey contacted me. Actually, we met at the New Media Summit in with Steve Olsher and the whole gang there. And there's another place where I made some lifelong friends right there, like that I would never have met anywhere else. So that was another wonderful wow time in my life, speaking of. And so Corey and I met there very briefly. And then he reached out to me when he was doing book 3 and said, I think, he said, I'm looking at your media sheet. And he said, I think any one of these topics would be really great, he said, in my book. So I thought about it and thought, well, okay, I'll try. And then that Maria Ray was doing the Warrior magazine.
Modern Warrior, yeah.
Modern Warrior, and I wrote for her for a year or a little more.
Yeah.
And I had written for another magazine as well. And so, yeah, it just kind of comes, and just let it flow. When it flows, it flows. And whatever comes on the paper comes on the paper.
So then what other ways do you enjoy sharing your message? Like, are you a social media person? Do you like doing lives? What does it look like?
I'm not really a social media person. And you guys might know already from the fact that my posting is very sporadic, but people can join me, and I love it when people reach out and stuff. But I'm a trainer as well. I'm a sales trainer. Okay. So I love to do corporate training, and one of the things I like to talk about is power dialogue. Ooh. And so that is something I like to teach and share with people, more sharing than teaching, really. And the other thing I like to do is I like to show people what their thoughts look like in picture format. So it's really life-changing. And I've been a Kirlian photography practitioner for many years. And I have lots and lots of pictures to show people. And I use that when I'm teaching corporately, because it's life-changing. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You just can't. It's like an accident, right? Why do people slow down when they go by an accident? Well, one, for safety, but also they're curious. They're onlookers. They're gawkers. And once they see it, it's pretty hard not to see that. So when you see something as profound as what our general thoughts look like from an aura and energy standpoint around the hand, it is life altering, believe me. And it was for me. And that's how I got into it, because my pictures weren't too pretty in the beginning.
What type of things do you teach companies? You said you do training. What do you train them on? You said power
Sales.
dialogues?
Yeah, power dialogue for sales, asking the right questions, those kinds of things, productivity. And I show them what their thoughts look like before they do any of that, so that they get into the right mindset and thought process, and they have that picture of how they want their thoughts to look, and what do they want to portray to the person that they're sharing their information with, because to me, sales, people get all panicky over sales. The word sales, just people just have a hard time with it. But really, what is sales? You're sharing something that you believe in. At least I hope you believe in it, because it's really, really hard to encourage somebody towards something you don't believe in. And I wouldn't ever want anybody to do that, because it's just not nice to me. So I only, when I was in my marketing business, I only took on clients that I liked, and I liked their products. And if I didn't like their products, I just refused.
Yep.
If I didn't feel that I could do them a good service and do their customers a good service, then it wasn't going to happen.
I feel the same way. It's like I want to make sure that the energy flows, that there's a connection beyond the human being, because I basically treat everybody as if they're already my friend. It's like, hey, we just met. Cool, you're my friend now. Haha, you're stuck. No. But there's a connection with the human being, but then there's a connection with their values. There's a connection with maybe the product or service that they have. There's a connection with their message or their belief systems. I want to know that kind of stuff flows nicely, so that there isn't this huge area of tension between us. Because on a good day, I can power through that. Sorry, I can smash through that. Wow. And then on a bad day, I want nothing to do with it, and I probably won't even reach out to you. I don't want to be that person that doesn't show up on my bad day because of the tension between us. Because then, am I really serving you? No. And I don't want to give bad service.
Yeah, doesn't get us anywhere,
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Yeah, I used to be in retail sales for years, and I couldn't take a job on. I couldn't go work somewhere else for a product I didn't believe in, or a company I didn't believe in. Because some people are like, oh, if you can sell anything. It's like, well, theoretically you could possibly do that, but for me personally, I have to believe in what I'm selling. So for my books, for example, I love my books, and so I can more easily sell my books because I'm talking about them, because I love them and believe in it. I read them myself. I don't in general like reading. I love writing because I'm very slow at reading, but I do love it. And when I do YouTubing, I actually listen to some of my shows back for over an hour, and I love my own shows and I love listening to it. So I tend to only do stuff that I feel is good and that I like and I enjoy myself, because I think that shows through. There's some people that come and they're like, oh, I can teach you how to make £10,000 a month coaching business. And I do occasionally do coaching as a sideline, but that's not what I'm actually passionate about. My passion is writing books that change lives from pain to gain, and building a book publishing company. And I do a lot of coaching stuff for free on YouTube, which I'm happy to do. But in terms of actually building a business, it's not a coaching business that I want to build personally. It is a publishing business, a building book business, a leaving the legacy through the written word. And so that's why I keep on my track. But there's so many people, and I'm thinking it doesn't matter how much money you tell me I could earn through coaching if that's not my actual passion and belief and what I want to do all the time, because I'm not going to follow through on that if that's not what I'm passionate about. Was writing's built into my soul, and it's something I have to do to make me happy and other people happy and to save lives, basically.
I love that. But that's exactly why I want to ask our guests like Debora, like, why have you chosen speaking? Is it because somebody just told you need to be a speaker to be successful? Or is there something inside of you that wants to be expressed through speaking? How can you, as we spoke about earlier, how can you become more comfortable with the ways that you want to express yourself, not because you have to?
I'm going to say yes to both those questions. How's that?
Exactly.
Because somebody said to me, I need to be a speaker, which I didn't believe because of what happened when I was a kid, which it'll be in my book. And the other is, yeah, it just feels like it has to come out, and now is the time. I've suppressed a lot of what I feel I need to say and what I'm supposed to be saying, because I get these downloads, and then I just go, oh, I don't know. And it's, some of the stuff is so far ahead of its time. I go, how do you expect me to say that, and stuff. And but now it's coming to where it's like almost I don't have a choice. And it's like, you come hell or high water, you're going to get out there and you're going to spread this message because you've been told this is the message you're supposed to spread and you're supposed to get this out there. So hopefully lots of people will want to jump on the bandwagon and help you spread it. But it's got to be done. So that is part of it. And I mean, I've lived a life of many experiences. And I do believe that much of what I've experienced and how I've handled it, the good and the bad and the ugly, that I can help other people maybe not have to go through that. Like the child who, stuffs their emotions down with food because, they're afraid to express themselves because, they've been told people don't want to hear what they have to say, and yet they feel and so they stuff it. And that's what I've done. And it's embarrassing to admit at my age, but that's what I've done. I've stuffed those emotions down. And so now I think I've gotten to the age where I don't care. I don't care what you think, really. I want to reach people, and I love making people happy, and I love making people laugh, and I enjoy all that, and I love sharing my experiences because I know now that people do want to hear what I have to say. People have supported me, and people have said, and they have told me how important the messages are and how it's helped them. So I figure, well, I guess it's okay now to do that.
We were talking about permission earlier in the week, and that's where I just want to settle in for a moment, is thinking about giving ourselves permission and understanding that our stories help give other people that opportunity to give themselves permission. Like my gut is just saying, thank you. Because we don't just have the one story. It doesn't matter how many books we write. There's always going to be another story. There's always going to be something that we share. And during the last Blue Talks book, I was writing about connection and trying to connect it to happiness, since Ken Honda was writing the preface to it, or the introduction to it. I was like, how can I connect my message to his message to kind of highlight him at the same time? And it got me to the point where I wanted to know, like, what drives us as human beings? What does happiness actually mean? And happiness is about relationships. It's about connection. And it's about this image that I play in my mind of this wall where we have to grab on. That's the relation. And if there's no relation, there's no grip, which makes us fall. And if we fall too often or too much, that's when we're completely disconnected and we don't want to be here anymore. So I'm like, how can I build areas of relation with people? How can we connect? How can that build relationships to fill needs, which is our happiness? I'm like, okay. And if that means that we get a little bit uncomfortable to go on a stage and share the message that we feel is so important, so be it. The little bit of discomfort is much less than the power and encouragement and love that I feel by being on that stage.
Let me share a little story with you.
Oh, yeah, please do. I love stories.
So years ago, Sandra, you mentioned about retail. Well, I used to sell lingerie by Home Party. It was so much fun. I cannot tell you how much fun that was. And I stayed in that for, I don't know, 12 or 13 years. It served me extremely well. But I used to literally get cramps in my cheeks from laughing so hard.
Yes.
And at the time, I lived in a city with about 35,000 people. And it's the type of business that, you need, they want you to recruit people, right, to do what you're doing. And I wasn't getting any recruits. And my executive, she said to me, tell me about your parties. I said, they're perfect. My parties are perfect. My lingerie is perfect. It's perfectly steamed. My tags are perfect. They're perfectly hung. My prizes are perfect. Everything, it's perfect. I don't have a flaw in my speaking. Everybody has a good time. They book shows. It's perfect. And she said, and that's why you're not recruiting.
Oh, wow.
And it was some of the sagest advice I have ever received in my life. And I love her to this day. We're still friends all these many, many years later. And she was so wise. And she said, here's what I want you to do. And I can already, and her name is Sharon. And I said, Sharon, she said to me, I want you to put some tags on backwards. I want you to hang something inside out. She said, I want you to put some stuff in the wrong spot, because we used to sell in collections, show in collections. And I could feel myself, and even now I can feel myself almost choking. And I said,
Yes.
Sharon, I can't do that. And she said, why? I said, well, my parents taught me, if you're going to do something, you do it right, or you don't do it at all.
Oh.
And I had 2 perfectionists as parents, not just one. So I got a double dose.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember, and like I say, even now I can feel the tightness in my chest of her telling me that. But I knew she knew what she was doing. So I said, okay, I'll try, Sharon, but I don't know. So I did just what she said, did some things. And then, and she said, oh, and drop something on the floor. I said, what?
I already did that part.
She was going too far. So anyway, I did what I was told. So I was a good doobie and went to my next party. And I did what she said, and people still had a ton of fun. And one lady said to me, is there a way I could do this? And I had done my recruiting speech, but nobody had ever asked me before. So anyway, that was the start, and I became very successful. I had about 200 people under me and did really well. And oh, the other part to that conversation was, I said, well, I don't know that I really want a bunch of people here doing this. She said, how many people live in your town, in your city? I said, 35,000. She said, and you think you can serve 35,000 by yourself? And it kind of makes you go, oh, maybe not.
Maybe not. That's why I'm like, sure, other people that do similar things to me, great. Not everybody works for me. I love that. So, Deborah, we have about 2.5-ish minutes left. I want to make sure that you are sharing the things that you want to share. So is there anything that you need people to take away from this conversation today?
Well, I think for people to acknowledge where they are and that they're okay. You know what? They're okay. Don't buy into what everybody else says. Be your own person, which sometimes is hard for some of us. And to look for wow, because when we look for wow, just like Sandra said, what we think about, we get more of. And that is it. People can dispute that all they want. They can prove that to themselves all by their little old selves. They do not need coaches and mentors and consultants to teach them that. Just take a look at your life and you can figure it out. So if we don't like what's going on in our lives, let's start looking for what we do want. And when we start with wow, wonder, openness, and wisdom, it just makes it that much more easy. It's like brushing your teeth. You just become more habitual about it. And you look for it, even in the times that aren't easy. And I will admit, it is much harder when the times are rough. But we all go through that. So yeah, I'd like people to look for the wow. I'd like people to go on, look for wow.com and see what the event is all about. Check out, can I brag just a little bit?
Oh, of course.
So our book, look for Live Life in Wow, Nuggets of Wonder, Openness, and Wisdom, is available on Amazon. And when we launched, Kelly, who also launches the books, is part of my book. She wrote the foreword in the book and is in the book and was a publisher. We hit number 1 first day in six categories on Amazon. And I just did the launch. We just did the launch on Kindle, and we hit number 1 again in a whole bunch of categories. So I'm so proud. I'm so proud of the authors that are in this book. There's 15 of us, and their stories are so good and such a variety. So I really want to encourage people to get the book.
That's fun. We just had Kelly on earlier in the week, so yay. And if you haven't seen that, go back and watch her too. I think it was Monday that she was on. Yeah. So Debora, how do we find you, and what is your favorite way to communicate with people?
I love it when people reach out to me on LinkedIn to connect. Okay. That's one of my favorite places. I'm on LinkedIn more than any other social media, but I do have my business page, Smash Through Mentor. So go there, or the WOW Concept is one of my Facebook pages as well. So reach out to me on Facebook. I'm there. Reach out to me however you want. LinkedIn, email me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Debora, for coming on and joining us again. I love your energy. You feel like this lovely fairy godmother kind of energy, where you're just
thank you.
You put sparkles and wonder and wow everywhere.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I've had one of my clients describe me as working with me is like receiving a big energy hug while getting a gentle kick in the pants.
I love that. Oh my God, that's amazing. You should put that testimonial on like sparkle papers.
I have it. It's on my pages and stuff. So yeah, it's in my bio. It's kind of part of who I am. And she's right, I guess. I'm kind of that's how I became the Smash Through Mentor.
Well, thank you so much. We hope
to see you
again. Bye, Debora.
It's always great to see you. See you.
You too. Sorry. That is day 4. Oh, we're just over 3 hours. I'm trying to keep it on time. It's like, I think yesterday we were a couple minutes over. That's fine. We were really close. Sandra, thank you so much for being my guest co-host today. It was a lot of fun. And I love when other people like use their backgrounds, which is not my background, to ask questions that are different than mine. I want to know where you're curious. And it was really fun to see that. Thank you.
I really loved working with you today as well. It's really, really good. Can I just say one thing for the audience that I learned years ago? I think it was through a LinkedIn comment, that there are no failures in life, just lessons we learn from. And that completely changed my life. So whenever I'm worried or stressed or anxious about doing something, I'm like, you just can't fail, because every time you do something, even if it doesn't work out the way you want it to, you learn from it. You learn a lesson from it. And so there is no failure. And so when I learned that, I'm like, wow, I can't fail, because I come from like a perfectionist background, and and it's wrong to fail, and you should never fail, and all this lot, which is not actually true. You've got to some people say fail forward, but I just like to think it's a challenge that I got through and I learned some stuff from it, and that's it. So it makes life a lot more easier, I think, when you've got that kind of mindset and that philosophy.
Really yeah. I think one of the things that stood out to me today, there's a lot, let's try to pick one, is just the reminder that I do need to work on my stress response. Sometimes I get super excited, which is great, but then I forget the questions that I want. I forget the answers that I want. Random things fall, which I'm going to have to look up why. Like, why did my thermometer just fall from the wall?
Everything happens for a reason, Laura. So that thermometer means something. You just have to sit there and think, okay, what does this thermometer mean? Is it to do with the temperature in my life? Do I need to heat it up or cool it down?
I already started Googling that so I wouldn't forget by the time this is over. That's what I'm thinking about. It's just like sometimes remind myself that when I'm really high or really low, I can be there. I'm allowed to be there, but let's also come back to neutral and then decide from there, do I want to go back? Because then it's a flow. I can't just stay in one spot forever. It's how do I flow? How do I breathe? How do I cycle? So This has been a delight. So everyone, we encourage you to join us for day 5 tomorrow, which is the last day of our week. Same bat channel, wherever you joined us from, same bat time. That is 10 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on YouTube. I can't wait to hear what you took away from today's conversations. So much love, everyone. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow. You get to dance with me on the way out, Sandra?
Yay! Let's party!